Come on, man. Go for it, dude.
It's Friday! Friday!
So let's see if all the buttons work. And so it already sounds like it's going to be one of those days. John, here, you there? We're stacked. And it's going to be a fun one with Dave Leno, play-by-play voice of the Philadelphia Union. He's going to drop by at 9:30. Dave is in the middle of spring break for family, so we'll see. We'll see if Dave can juggle spring break responsibilities and talking about the Philadelphia Union. It's going to be an education with Dave, coming all the way back from the beginning of the season, the hiring of Bradley Carnell, the dismissal of Jim Curtin, and we're going to work forward. So Dave Leno is going to join us bottom of the hour, and we're going to talk about things. And then at 10 o'clock, we're going to talk whatever's on this guy's mind. You know, he's got a golden ticket status anyway, and so he knows he can crash whenever he wants. But Kevin Egan is going to join us at 10 o'clock. We're going to talk about MLS 360. We're going to talk about its challenges. It's fun. We're going to talk about I wanted to ask Kevin some MLS 360 stuff about what's the easiest part about it and what's the most challenging part about it. We're going to find out what he thinks about Atlanta United. We're going to find out what he thinks about the tour of the league. And since he is in hour number 2, that is in the weekend whip around hour. And so we're going to break down everything in the league. Going in with Kevin, we're going to talk about stuff with Jason. Jason will probably be joining us in the last 20 minutes of the show, considering all the things that Jason has to do. He's got to get ready for a trip to Philly and a matchup with Philadelphia Union and Atlanta United. So we're going to be kind of drifting in and out of what happened yesterday, what's going on this morning, previewing everything going on this weekend, talking about Philadelphia, talking about Major League Soccer on the whole, maybe a question about the events happening in Las Vegas this weekend with our guest in the 10 o'clock hour. We'll see if he has any inside intel. And then talk about Atlanta United, getting ready for Philly, knowing what they bring to the table. So that's where we are. It's all the ups and downs this morning. And yeah, so that's the day that we got. But no, it's great to see everybody. And if you caught up with Morning Espresso this morning with Jason, brought to us by our friends at Oglethorpe University, it was an opportunity for Jason to talk about what happened yesterday involving Manchester United. The screaming that you heard was Drew Dickinson, and they, meaning Manchester United, not Drew Dickinson, but Manchester United worked their way through. They continue to get 2 Scandinavian teams in the semifinals of the Europa League. There's a great train of thought on the 280 character app about Bodo Glimt and their stadium and all that kind of stuff. So go back and read that as a part of the education going forward. But Drew caught up. I guess this technically is opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Where's my design keys? There we go. I'm getting there. I think I'm getting there. Here's your QR code. For those of you that dig your QR codes, that's how you start your day. Hit that QR code with our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And you use that QR code. Use the code SoccerDownHere15. When you check out, you get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it, youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There you go. All right. Drew was going back and forth. I guess this is after he caught his breath yesterday. And he was just talking about all the feels and how it was 7-6 in the aggregate and 5-4 on the day. They didn't have, meaning the juice boxers, the juice box purveyors did not have a total that went up in the match as high as 8.5. And I was trying to figure out what the math might be on totals from that match yesterday. They only went as high as 7.5, and that was plus 2,800. That was the biggest math that was out there for that match yesterday. And apparently, according to Ruben Amorim, Harry Maguire is the only guy allowed to have headers. But yeah, 7.5 was the highest total that was had on the board at a plus 2,800. So there you go. And that was one of the more intriguing things, because when you have a game that goes completely and totally out of control and off the rails like that, for me, I'm instantly thinking, okay, what went wrong? And where are folks taking full advantage of the situation? So it looked like, oh, that is off center. I'll be darned. All right, so hang on. Yeah, I was wondering about that, because it's like, no, it took me a second. So I always gravitate toward, when games go out of control, I'm always looking at the totals. And so Spurs got a great win, but Jordan, I don't quite think that that's going to save Ange's gig for Ange. And so there's discussion overseas this morning, and this is probably where we may as well just do the Premier League here in the first half hour of 25 minutes. But there's a discussion that they could be Ten Hagging, in quotation marks, Tenhag, not Tenhog, but they could be Ten Hagging as they go forward if things continue to go the way that they are going for Spurs. So I don't think Ange gets renewed, and this will be a true test for that front office for Spurs as to where you go next. And like I said, when there's a game like what happened yesterday with Manchester United, I'm always gravitating to the total. But yeah, there was no 8.5. There was a 7.5, but there wasn't an 8.5. And the 7.5 got you at plus 2,800. So that was the max out there with all of the activity yesterday. Speaking of activity yesterday, and I know I'm kind of going into non sequiturs, and I know that shocks you. We'll talk about the Premier League, and we'll get you ready with juice boxes there before Dave joins us bottom of the hour. Okay, so last night, Maddie and Jason went to Chapel Harmon and Harmon Field Bill Chapel Stadium in Dalton, Georgia, for Dalton and Southeast Whitfield. Big win for the Catamounts after snapping back after losing on the boys' side to Sprayberry. I think it was Sprayberry, Pebblebrook, one of the two. Then it was a good rebound for them and a good rivalry match. We had the two matches up there at Chapel Harmon last night. You can go back and listen to them on the network. And once again, as always, thanks to all of our friends that are hanging out with us with the way that they are, and however you're accessing us. So great work yesterday by them going all the way up there. And today, as Jason is spiriting his way to Philadelphia, Maddie and I are going down to McIntosh for Stars Mill and McIntosh. And so Stars Mill and McIntosh, it's the battle for the troops. If you're in the neighborhood, go. If you're in the neighborhood, go to this match. It is, it's two schools that are rivals, not fans of one another on the field, but it is one of those really cool rivalries, and they go all out. Look, they kind of gave me the rundown as to what's going on. If you've never been to McIntosh for Battle for the Troops, they go as far as having flyovers. And they've had the last time we were down there for Battle for the Troops, it was a 6-plane biplane flyover. It was 6 biplanes that were part of a flyover going from north to south at McIntosh. Apparently tonight, and Brian Messer, associate head coach down there at McIntosh on the boys' side, he sends me a timed itinerary, and it's like, okay, flyovers at 8:03. Okay, flyovers at 8:03. So it's flyover at 8:03. Girls match kicks things off. Then I think they're at 5:30, and then they get everything all squared away. Then you have your flyover at 8:03, and I think kick is at 8:15. And so that is what's going on. And there are going to be more planes than the 6 biplanes that they had last time. I'm not going to tell you the number, but it's a big number. So that's where we are. Rich, by the way, Dave Leno joining us bottom of the hour. So that's the beginning. It's the last day of the regular season for us at SDH. Obviously, we're carrying over and we're going into the high school postseason starting next week. We do have a game circled, or at least we have a destination circled, and we're trying to see if things line up for this particular match. And we got to figure out the logistics attached with the GHSA. Our playoff schedule starts next week. Our playoff schedule starts next week on the SDH network. So we're going to be, flying around all over the place, not in the biplane or anything like that. But here's the deal. Once again, next week, it's playoffs. SoccerDownHere.Mixler.com, Mixler app, SoccerDownHere.net. All the places which you can get all the high school action here in the state of Georgia. And we're going to carry you through the semifinals. And there will be some of us attached to the finals, most of us attached to the finals, frankly. And that'll be at McEachern, Duluth, and at Mercer over the next month. So over the next month, we're getting you ready for the postseason. And the postseason is, I think it's 13, 14, 15, 16 May in those three venues, those 4 days. And we're getting you geared up for all of that stuff. We're going to be broadcasting through the semifinals, and I think that's 9-10. And so that's where we are. So last night, Southeast Whitfield and Dalton. Tonight, Stars Mill and McIntosh. Then the playoffs start next week, and when we know where we're going, we'll let you know where we're going. Soccer's in session, by the way, presented by Kaiser Permanente. They are going to Soccer's in session is probably going to be as many days as humanly possible. We may not go the full hour, but we'll do more days. We won't be doing an hour every day. Let's put it that way. So that's where we are. And allergies are still destroying me. So there you go. All right. So since we talked about Manchester United, tell you what, let's get into the Premier League really quickly, get into juice boxes and get you geared up for the activity that's there. Don't forget, set your fantasy. As you're getting into the stretch run, we know that there could possibly be more relegations this weekend if certain activity goes a certain way. You're looking at certain clubs, and it's okay. Now, my fantasy team got destroyed because I decided to play Crystal Palace on defense with Lacroix and Mark Gahey and got absolutely destroyed. All right, so here you go. Brentford, Brighton. Brentford's favored at the G-Tech. 4 matches tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock Eastern. Brentford a plus 147. Brighton's a plus 171. Crystal Palace, a slight dog at home going up against Bournemouth, who's a plus 156. Bournemouth might be getting healthy at the right time. Everton hosting Manchester City, plus 280. Manchester City's a minus 108. Your draws a plus 265 as they wrap up their time at Goodison Park and start heading over to Bramley-Moore Dock. Also at 10 o'clock, West Ham playing the relegated Southampton, plus 547 for Southampton. West Ham's a minus 213, and your draws a plus 351. 12:30, Villa and Newcastle. Villa, and this is the third match in a week for Newcastle. Still no Jason Tyndall, as far as we know, still going to be on the touchline for a pneumonia-fighting Eddie Howe. Villa a plus 139 at Villa Park, or Olympics. I just call it Villa Park out of default. Newcastle's a plus 177. Your draws a plus 264. Now, Sunday, 4 matches. 3 at 9 o'clock on Easter Sunday. Wow. It's Fulham and Chelsea. Fulham a plus 175. Chelsea's a plus 147. Ipswich at home as a big underdog to Arsenal, who's a minus 244. Ipswich a plus 658, draws a plus 367. Manchester United hosting Wolves at a plus 125. Wolves are a plus 218. They've won 4 on the spin. Draws a plus 238. Leicester could, if they lose to Liverpool, they could make themselves one step closer to being relegated. If Wolves and West Ham both win, then Leicester gets relegated. Leicester plus 1094 in the composite. Liverpool a minus 476. Draws a plus 580. Monday Night Football, Spurs and Forest. Spurs favored at home at a plus 146. Nottingham Forest a plus 169. We even have action Tuesday and Wednesday. Manchester City, Aston Villa, Arsenal, and Crystal Palace. And we'll look at those numbers as we get closer to those activities. Dan, I will check and see if there's juice boxes on the Champions League semis on the women's side. I will certainly do that. Yeah. No, Premier League standings. Okay, here we go. Liverpool and Arsenal. Liverpool's 13 points clear of Arsenal. Arsenal, everybody's at 32 matches. Everybody's all lined in. Newcastle, 4 points back. But this is when the fun starts. 5 spots for Europe in Champions League. Spot 6 goes to Europa League, slot 7 to Conference League. But then there are scenarios where if certain teams win competitions, you could have teams deeper than 7th or 8th making their way into European competition. Right now, 3 through 7 separated by 5 points. Newcastle's won 5 in a row. They're at 59. Forest has lost 2 in a row. They're at 57. Manchester City's at 55. They have won 2 and drawn 2 in their last 4. Chelsea is well ahead of Villa on goal difference at 54 points. That gets you to 8, and this is group number 2. 8, 9, 10, Bournemouth, Fulham, Brighton. Bournemouth well ahead of Fulham on goal difference. Fulham 2 ahead of Brighton on goal difference. That's 8, 9, 10. Brentford at 43 ahead of Crystal Palace on goal difference. Well ahead. They're plus 8. Then that gets you to 13. Everton ahead of Manchester United on goal difference, 1 point ahead of Spurs. Wolves have won 4 in a row. They're at 35 ahead of West Ham on goal difference. And then relegated once again, it is Southampton at 10 points. Leicester is at 18. If they lose this weekend, once again, they lose this weekend to Liverpool, they're at 18 points. West Ham and Wolves, with 6 matches to go, are 15 or 17 points clear. Both of those teams win, Leicester goes down. Right now, Ipswich is 14 points back. So that's where that is where it is laid out with your Premier League standings on the weekend. So now, Dan is requesting the Women's Champions League. Yes! Juicebox purveyors. Arsenal is a dog against Lyon. Lyon, a minus 112. 90-minute draws a plus 271. Arsenal is the plus 265. The other playoff, which is on Sunday at noon, Barcelona, big favorite, a minus 417 in the composite. Draws basically, 90-minute draws basically a plus 500. And Chelsea to win against Barcelona is a plus 890. So there you go. There's your juice boxes on your Women's Champions League semis. Lyon minus 112, favorite on the road at Arsenal. 90-minute draws a plus 271. Barcelona, big favorite at home on minus 417, taking on Chelsea at a plus 890. So there you go. Also chasing after, just to see, and I know that we're all kind of somewhat fixated on who's what's-its. Wrexham and promotion relegation. By the way, Luton's leading Derby 1-0, 90-plus in the championship. Right now, Leeds and Burnley neck and neck, 9 goals separating Leeds from Burnley in the automatic promotion spots. They look like they're both heading in. Third spot right now, Sheffield United, Sunderland, big gap in points. There's a 7-point gap in points there, and then there's a 12 and a 13-point gap going from Sunderland to Bristol City and Coventry. Our John Nason, I'm sure, is loving life and hoping that they can hang on over the next, 4 matches. So that's it right now. West Brom, Middlesbrough, Millwall, they're all 60 points. They're trying to claw their way in. Now, League One, since we're kind of going down this road. Right now, Exeter and Burton Albion. Burton Albion looks like they're on their way to getting relegated. So right now, Birmingham, they're in. They have 2 matches in hand. They're 13 points clear. Wrexham, having played 42 matches, they are in the second promotion spot right now. 4 matches to play. 1 point ahead of Wickham. So Wrexham is in the second promotion spot right now in League One at 82 points. Wickham's at 81. Stockport County has won 4 in a row. They've come storming in at 77. Charlton United, the Blades, at 76. I hope they've got their ownership situation squared away. Reading, and this is another thing that we've got to pay attention to, is Reading and the ownership situation. I know that Jess is trying to balance the idea of hopefully getting a new owner and actually staying alive as a club versus right now being 3 points clear of Leyton Orient to get into the promotion playoff right now in League One. So it looks like Shrewsbury, Cambridge United, Crawley Town, Burton Albion, Bristol Rovers. Burton Albion with a match in hand. That's the only thing that might be saving them. Burton's ahead of Bristol Rovers on goal difference. So right now, Bristol Rovers have lost 5 in a row. Crawley Town, Cambridge United, and Shrewsbury are the teams that could be relegated out of League One. Now, League Two, quickly. Like I said, once again, I'm flying through all this stuff. 10 o'clock matches all day in League Two today because they go Good Friday, and then they go Monday and they go boom, boom. So here's what it's looking like in League Two. All the matchups today. See, now if I was smart in 35 minutes, I would turn the TV on and go to like Paramount Plus. Port Vale, Bradford City, Walsall. Walsall's ahead of Doncaster Rovers on goal difference. Port Vale, Bradford City, Walsall right now, all three would be the ones promoted with 3 or 4 matches to go. AFC Wimbledon, go Dons. They're in the promotion playoff spots right now, but Doncaster 72. AFC Wimbledon ahead of Notts County on goal difference. Grimsby Town at 66, a point ahead of Colchester, and then 4 points ahead of Chesterfield. So right now, that's your run in promotion playoff. Right now, Carlisle and Morecambe, the Shrimpers, would be the 2 teams that would be relegated. Okay, so that's your quick rundown of everything that you may or may not have known when it came to promotion relegation in the English leagues. So that's where we are. Once again, tomorrow we got to get into the officials, and we'll let you know who the crews are in these particular matchups. We are efforting a guest from Pro for Tuesday to talk about the state of officiating in Major League Soccer. So that's kind of where it was something that, we've been talking about a lot. We always talk about it with Bart on Mondays. Tuesday, we may have someone from Pro on the show to discuss the state of refereeing, review processes, consistency, all these kinds of things. So we may have someone from Pro live on Tuesday, and if we don't, then it might end up being on tape. And so we'll keep an eye out for all of that. Now, assignments for Major League Soccer. Rosendo Mendoza is going to be Austin FC, LA Galaxy. Nick Uranga, Justin Howard, Jared Marufo is your 4th. JC Rivero, TJ Zablocki are upstairs. Crew and Messi and friends. Tori Penso, Catherine Nesbitt. Your ref in your AR1. Ryan Graves, Alexis De Silva. We know Alexis De Silva. He's your 4th for Crew and Inter Miami. Drew Fisher and Mike Kampminer are upstairs. Charlotte and San Diego. Philip Dujic is your center ref. Adam Winkowski, Zach McWhorter. Chris Penso is your 4th for Charlotte and San Diego. Eunice Marakchi, Joseph Batko upstairs. Montreal, Orlando City, Fotis Bazakis in the middle. Leeds Arfa, Michael Barweg and Matthew Soare are your AR, your 2, and your 4. Remy Touchant, Claudio Bodea are upstairs. Revs and NYC, Marcus de Oliveira is the man in the middle. Corey Parker, Stephen McGonigal, your ARs. Matt Thompson, your 4th. Jorge Gonzalez, Fabio Tovar are upstairs. Red Bulls, DC United, Sergi Boyko, man in the middle. Jose De Silva, Chris Wadham, Callan Radosov, your AR, your 2, and your 4. Michael Radchuk and Tom Supple are upstairs. Seattle, Nashville, Ricardo Fierro. We know Ricardo Fierro. AR1, Jeff Greason, Jeffrey Schwartzel's your 2. Victor Rivas, your 4. David Barry. We know David Barry is a VAR. And Joshua Patlak is your AVAR. Alan Chapman, man in the middle for Atlanta United and Philly. Jason White, Mike Nickerson, Benjamin Meyer on the field. Sean Tahini, Robert Schapp upstairs. Chicago and Cincy, Lorenzo Hernandez. I think that's the first time that Lorenzo Hernandez has been in the middle because everybody is playing on Saturday. Andrew Bigelow, Nick Balser, Ricardo Montero Araya, AR 1, 2, and 4. Soren Stoichka, Corbin May upstairs. Houston Dynamo, Colorado Rapids, Malik Badawi, man in the middle. Kyle Atkins, Kevin Klinger, Rubiel Vasquez, your 1, your 2, and your 4. Kevin Terry Jr., TJ Zablocki upstairs. St. Louis City and Vancouver. Pierre-Luc Lozier, man in the middle. Jeremy Kiso, Diego Blas, John Freeman, no relation, your 1, your 2, and your 4. JC Rivero, Daniel Chesky upstairs. Minnesota and FC Dallas, Abdu Njai is your man in the middle. Corey Richardson, Eric Weisbrod, Ismair Pekmich, your 1, your 2, and your 4. Kevin Stott, Mike Kampminer upstairs. RSL Toronto, Sergei Demyanchuk. I remember when Sergei Demyanchuk was doing stuff in Division 3 and doing Silverbacks Park action. He's a man in the middle, RSL in Toronto. Stefan Tanaka-Freund, Walt Heatherly, John Matto, your 1, your 2, and your 4. Drew Fisher, your VAR. Megan Mullen joining him upstairs. Portland, LA, Guido Gonzalez Jr., man in the middle. Jeremy Hansen, Ian McKay, Jeremy Shear, your 1, your 2, and your 4. Daniel Radford, Jonathan Johnson upstairs. San Jose and Sporting, Joe Dickerson, man in the middle. Chris Elliott, Kevin Locke, Brandon Stevish, your 1, your 2, and your 4. David Barry and Tom Supple doing the daily double upstairs. So David Barry is going from Seattle and Nashville and doing the quick turn to be with San Jose and Sporting. He's going VAR. So that's rundown of who is there in this crew for Atlanta United, specifically in Philadelphia Union. Alan Chapman, the man in the middle for this particular matchup. So that's what we're staring at, coming at in just a little bit. Let me see who's here. Let me see who's here. We can say hi. Morning, D. Graham. Morning, Jordan. Morning to everybody there. Morning, Alex. Morning, Abby. Morning, Pars. Let's see. D. Graham and Abby discussing what was going on with the matchup with our friends with Manchester United. Heard him cursing. Let's see. And so Abby, officially a FIFA Club World Cup volunteer. Nicely done. Jordan's still waiting for his email. Morning, Rich. And let the chaos begin. Rich, because Rich, our resident duper, gets to find out and see what's going on. It is time where we get to catch up and bring somebody else in to the stacks. We get to add Dave Leno to our golden ticket holders and find out what in the wide world of sports is going on in his world. And so what I am going to do is I'm going to see if I can just have I'm going to see if I can just have Dave's audio here because I am going to see. There we go. That's the one that we're trying to do. All right, here we go. Dave Leno, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Can you hear me okay? Sorry for just the audio only today. I'm driving actually down to our training in Chester and just a busy week with the kids home from school with spring break, but grateful to be with you this morning.
I was going to ask how spring break has gone with you this morning and this week. You've been balancing everything and all of it.
It's been great. We've been to the Crayola Factory Museum in Easton, PA, which is a little ways away from our stadium and kind of the Philadelphia area and the Bucks County, Pennsylvania area, just essentially north of the city. Running around with my son, Hudson, who's 5. We actually brought him down to training on Wednesday and took in a little bit of the practice, met some of the guys, the coaching staff, which was really nice because he met a lot of the new faces. So I got a 5 and a 1-year-old. So needless to say, for my wife and I, it's been busy, but again, I love doing these things and always look forward to a Union Atlanta matchup. I really do. We have a lot of history against each other, so it should be fun.
Yeah, what I want to do, Dave, and what I've started doing this year and bringing in the Oppo research, as they say in poli sci or inside the Beltway in Washington, is I wanted to try and have the Atlanta United fan who either watches or listens to us have an education about the team that they're playing against. And so every single week we bring in the voice of or someone who's tight to the program, and then that way we can get a good gauge to what is to be expected in the present tense in addition to the history that's attached in the past tense. So I need to go all the way back to the beginning of this season with you and work forward. Bradley Carnell comes in and he becomes the new man on the touchline. Jim Curtin, longtime voice, long time on the touchline, no longer there. What has been the response to Carnell as the new head coach there in Philadelphia, bringing in his twists to what folks are used to seeing on the field?
Yeah, well, we have a different coach, different tactical formation, so new system, new identity, new ethos for the club. Quite candidly, a lot of people wrote us off. After Jim was let go, and some faces last year like Julian Carranza to Feyenoord, Jose Martinez. And others, have left, and most recently Daniel Gazdag, which I'm sure we'll get to in a moment. So going into the year, many didn't think after missing the playoffs for the first time since 2017 that we would not be very good. And that's one thought of it. And going in, there were little to no expectations for the club. And I would say that some of the faces were brought back. We lost one of our center backs that has been with the team um, since 2017, Jack Elliott. He left in free agency and joined the Chicago Fire. Many Atlanta fans who follow your games will understand that the Union have had this center back duo for quite some time with Jack Elliott and Jacob Glestis, but Elliott left, had a young child in Chicago, and that team, if anybody's followed, after losing their first game, they've been thriving under Greg Berhalter recently. So happy for them. And then coming in, they announced Bradley Carnell coming from St. Louis. Some may realize his first year as an expansion team in St. Louis 2023 takes them to the number one spot in the West. Then obviously there's tape on them, whatever. They go on this magical run of the regular season. They lose in the first round of the playoffs to Sporting Kansas City. He gets sacked. I believe it was midway through, like July time frame of 24 with St. Louis. From what I understand, um, they played a little more possession with players that maybe didn't fit that mold in year two, and he was let go. But from what I can tell you since coming into the Union, from my standpoint, is that guys have bought into his identity. They had a really good preseason in Spain and also in Clearwater, Florida. And, some games they lost, some games they won, but, picked up a little bit of knocks here and there. But from all accounts, preseason was really good about establishing, as I'm sure you can understand, a new culture. And then fast forwarding to the year, the team goes 3-0 to start the season. I think the biggest surprise to a lot of pundits around the league was we win 4-2 in Orlando, and Orlando's expected to be a really good team this year. I know it's kind of been topsy-turvy for Oscar Pereira to start the year. We allow an 8th-minute goal to Pasalic. So we allow the first goal of the year in the 8th minute. And then we kind of stun them 4-2. And then it kind of unravels there, and we beat a Cincinnati team 4-1 that was finding their footing at the start of the year. We win at a team that wasn't playing well at the start of the year. Now has won a couple in New England, 2-0. And then we get exposed a little bit against Nashville and a coach that knows us pretty well and BJ Callahan. So what he did and what others are doing is like a mid to low block defensively, sitting back, saying, Union, you have the ball and you try to break us down. So lastly, I'll end it with tactics. Under Jim, we played this 4-4-2 diamond. Well before that, when I first joined the Union under when Ernie Stewart was the sporting director, it was like a 4-2-3-1. It's lately been the 4-4-2 diamond. Now it's a box 4-2-2-2 under Carnell. Lately, though, I will end by saying this long answer with, we haven't gotten the results. The opportunities are there. We're not scoring. We're 1-3-1 in the last 5, winless in the last 3 games, shut out in the last 2 to Orlando and New York City. So we're hoping now this is the start of 2 home games for us against Atlanta, DC, and then we go to Montreal, who hasn't played well at the start of this year. So hopefully things can be turned around. But for all accounts, what I see, everybody buying into the Bradley Carnell system.
Dave Leno joining us to discuss everything Philadelphia Union as Atlanta gets ready to hop on a plane and head up to Chester to take them on this weekend here on SDHAM. And when you look at one of the early surprises, at least statistically, here for Philadelphia in 2025, did the Ty Barabo having all these goals happen on your bingo card out of the blocks this season?
Just seeing what he did last year when he got playing time after the Carranza transfer to Feyenoord, I was so happy for him because that was a guy that was, came in from the Austrian Bundesliga, a lot of success, an Israeli international, has gotten more time with Israel given his success in MLS. It wasn't surprising that he was leading the Golden Boot to start, to me. He's the type of striker that, can find that space in the box with a little flick, pass can run off the back shoulder of a center back. And I'm generalizing what Ty can do, but he's not a guy that like a Mikel Uwa that's going to beat you on the dribble and they're going to play into space and say, all right, we're going to play a long diagonal or direct play to you. And, you try to be on the dribble for 15 yards and try to score. Brebo is not that type of striker. He's in and around the box, really good at the end of crosses, can win second and third balls. And that's how Ty has scored. So I saw that a lot last year. It was good in the Leagues Cup last year. Anytime he got the playing time, there was always a chance for Ty to score, which I think it's safe to say with a lot of strikers, they go through ebbs and flows, right? They go through streaks and, cold spells. And right now, Ty's goalless in a couple of games, but he did get off to a hot start. So to answer your question, that doesn't surprise me with him. What they need to figure out is you bring in a club record transfer signing from our end in Bruno Damiani coming from Nacional. So for the Uruguayan, with Bruno, I think he's still getting, acclimated A to MLS, B to this system, and then C to the United States. It was the first time for Bruno and another new number 6 in the midfield, Jovan Lukic, playing in a baseball stadium for the first time, or seeing a baseball stadium, being inside. When we went to Citi Field to play New York City, we just lost 1-0 up there in Queens. So, Ty, what you will see with a lot of strikers, lastly in the league, is that he will get on a run, scoring 3 consecutive games, 4 of the last 5. But then there will be the type of, little spells where he's goalless in 3, for example. So obviously, as the voice of the Union, hopefully he has a good game against Atlanta, and would love to see him get back on the sheet.
No doubt. Dave Leno dropping by on his way to practice as Philadelphia is getting ready for Atlanta United as we continue opposition research on a Friday here on SDHAM. When you're looking at not having Daniel Gazdag, I know that the way that the things are now with the league, with the intra-league purchases and transfers and such, this one was definitely one that raised the people's eyebrow. And I feel like with WrestleMania 41 this weekend, I probably should reference it that way.
Yeah.
This one was a head scratcher for those outside of Philadelphia. Was this just something that, there was trust in the individuals that were there? I mean, what was the background on this, and how was this trigger getting pulled to where one of your studs is now with one of your rivals?
Yeah, I'm really, really, really. I was really surprised that Danny got moved. I love Danny. Know him well. His family, young family, and I think like everybody, kind of was like, wow. I mean, because we had such a great start the first, 6, 7 games with him. And I think that Danny going into the season, from what I've read and from what a little bit I understand, was at the end of his contract to get an option year next year. And I don't know definitively if he was in the plans to make the money that he and his agent wanted. So I don't know long term, and this is just me, putting out, taking off my team hat for a second as a broadcaster and saying, I don't know with Ernst Tanner, our sporting director, and the technical staff, that he was in the long-term plans. I can tell you, as a guy who was our all-time leading scorer, like 59 goals in the regular season, I believe 72 across all competitions. A threat. For a guy that can go out wide, shoot from the top of the box, and to end that, just for the penalty spot, I think he was 24 of 25 from the spot in regular season play. So a lot of his goals came from there, and I would say that reading some of the articles that came out, and I learned a lot through that. Great reporting by Tom Bogert and others, around the team that cover us. It sounds like that there were talks with Danny that were really open, though. It wasn't like the sporting director, and I know Ernst really well, Ernst Tanner, our sporting director, for those that don't know. Um, the dialogue was 2 ways. It wasn't like the Union were shopping him around or anything like behind Gazdag's back. I think it was made apparent that maybe, hey, it might come to an end with the Union, and I think that still shocks a lot of our supporters here. And I think they were looking for clubs all around the league, and the most viable option came Columbus. I saw the reporting that Tom Bogert had that FC Dallas, went with Lucho instead of potentially from the West, looking at Danny. And I think, being being from the Union, I think it's better to, for the organization, to send him to somebody that we're not going to play a lot. Well, Columbus was the one that stepped up. I think was the most interested, from what I understand, out of all the teams that they inquired with. And he kind of, they've been looking to fill that void with Cucho gone and more in the tackle. Though, from what we all know, watching Columbus, they're still one of the lone 2 unbeaten's, I believe, with Miami left in the league at the top of the East. So I think he's going to fit that more possession-based style that Wilfred Nancy deploys, different from us that like to play without the ball. We're still going to miss him. So then, to follow up on your other part of the question about who steps in,
Yeah.
well, that's the big thing, right? With these new trade things where you could trade for cash. We made 2 deals, not just one. Gazdag recently, and another one that was surprising the Union fans was a young guy that we had through the system, Jack McGlynn. who's been getting some time with the U.S. men's national team recently. Some may say McGlynn didn't fit this, the amount of running that we do under Bradley Carnell now. More of a possession-based guy, plays that long ball, chipped over the top, direct play. And there's just a ton of running in this game, and we need that, especially not just offensively, but on the defensive side with our recovery sprints. So the sporting director and the staff make the two deals, which definitely I think plays into why these moves were made at the times they were made.
Yeah.
Who we fill that void of Gazdag in particular with this topic. Number one is Indiana Vasilev, who has familiarity with Bradley Carnell at St. Louis, came from Miami, has a little Premier League experience with Villa and just their system, but was, sent off to other clubs and, trying to make a name for himself here in the States. And Vasilev's very different than Gazdag as like a second number 10 to Quinn Sullivan. Vasilev's very shifty, good left foot, can shoot from distance. Is he going to be the type of guy that goes into the channel and goes well away from goal that Gazdag did? He can. He's versatile and can play the 6, 8, or the 10 role. And we've seen all three of those roles for Vasilev. Last game, I would add, and I'm saying this very objectively, that I didn't call Indiana's name on our broadcast probably for the first 30 minutes, and it was a tight field at Citi Field at the time because the Yankees had a game, so the game wasn't at Yankee Stadium. So a little unfair, I think, for Indiana, objectively, for the first game to be that starting 10. It was a second start because we missed a ton of guys on the international window. So it's him, and then lastly, it's what does it mean for Kevin Sullivan? The wonder kid,
Yeah.
15 years young. Many around the world say he's the best at his age at that 10 position. And we'll see. Kevin's played twice off the bench for the Union. He scored several times for Union too. But I can tell you, knowing the club like I do, that they're not just going to throw a 15-year-old, even if he's the best, from what they say now. It's unfair to the kid. Just throw him in against all these big bodies and say, hey, go be creative. We're down, go chase the goal. So it's what the game um, tells the coaching staff to say, this is what we need at the time. If it necessitates, Kevin coming in, he will. But I would expect for Union fans and for Atlanta fans, maybe in the matchup, for Indiana Vasilev to assume that 10 role moving forward. And then we'll see. I don't know definitively. We'll see what the team does with the cash it has acquired if they make moves. I think the primary transfer window is the 23rd of April. I don't expect us to make anything, from there, and we'll see come the summer window.
Wrapping up another couple of minutes with Dave Leno. I don't want the fourth to get mad at us when he holds up the light board. So let's see. Andre Blake, Jesus Bueno, day-to-day, aren't we all? Olivier Mbaizo's status, somewhat in question. What kind of a lineup are you anticipating being trotted out at Chester?
So the Blake one is still a mystery. He's day-to-day. He suffered a little bit of an adductor injury. As Bradley Carnell said at the press conference yesterday, still training off to the side. When I was down there earlier this week with goalkeeping coach Phil Wedden, who's excellent with our club and others around the team. So a decision there for the staff to make between, I would expect either Andre to be healthy, and I'm hoping Dre is back fit and ready to go. Always like to see him and Guzan going up against one another. Dre, of course, stars for the Jamaican national team. And then Andrew Rick's a kid that came from our academy. Should he start? 19-year-old kid. It would be his third start this year, second consecutive against St. Louis. That kind of just sat back, absorbed all the pressure, really didn't do anything offensively, plays on the counter, plays very deep, like I said, defensively. And last game, a little bit of mistake, I would say. It's not just Rick coming out on there was a long ball from the right back, Ilinich for New York City, plays it down the flank. Our back line was playing high with that high line of confrontation. We get caught a little bit, and their number 9 for New York, Alonso Martinez, breaks free on the right side of the penalty area. Rick comes out, little indecisive move from him, like all the way outside his box. One of our defenders was trying to help, and unfortunately it was an open goal, and Martinez, their 9, was very composed to beat us, and that's That's how we lost. One of the ways we lost last game. But Rick's very capable of making saves. Very good with Union too. He's kind of our backup now. Oliver Zemla's our choice backup was.
Oh, stick with it. Stick with it.
He's a choice
Yep.
too. Yeah.
No, you're good. You drifted out for a sec. Keep going. You're good. You're on a roll.
And so, sorry, you're going in and out, but that's the bike in the Philly area. So that's a decision to make. Center back wise, you mentioned some of the injuries. Jan Glavinovic, who he brought on loan from Newell's Old Boys, is still recovering from the meniscus. So you're looking like probably Glesnes and Owethu Makanya, who's a young South African trying to hold down his own for the first time playing with the first team there. Jovan Lukic has been a really healthy addition. I think fans across the league that have maybe checked in on the Union have marveled at the Serbian shooting ability from distance. Him and Danley Jean-Jacques, we just call him Danley, who plays with Haiti. He's very, very physical as a number 6 defensively. Quinn Sullivan's done really well at the 10 this year. He might be starting as well. I would expect him to be in the lineup up top. Good crossing ability, shooting from distance. He's the older brother of Kevin Sullivan, two Philly guys. And Quinn's really been a delight, had a ton of assists, a few goals last year. Came on onto the scene with the first team, shining in a starting role last year and getting more playing time. Happy for him. And Vasilev, could he be that heir apparent to Gazdag? Up top, lastly, with the strikers, they're tinkering at the combinations, and likely what you guys will see: Baribo, Bruno Damiani, our new acquisition, good around the box still. Like I said earlier, finding his footing in MLS, and Michael Uwa, you can call him either way. Uwa, Damiani, Baribo is probably those first choice combinations up top at a 4-2-2-2. Against the Atlanta team I know is coming into town, coming off of the loss, still, looking for points although it's early in the season, given your talented roster from what we've seen in the offseason and everything, and the quality that you guys have, I think it's going to be a very, very entertaining game to cover here in
No
Chester.
doubt. No doubt. All right, cut the promo for me so folks can find out how they can listen to you not just this weekend but all season long.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much. So, yeah, so our Philadelphia Union radio broadcasts are on 97.5 FM or 97.5 The Fanatic in the Philadelphia area. For folks that want to hear a little bit of the Union call, if you're not in the market in the Philly area, very easy, completely free. 97.5 The Fanatic website, 97.5 The Fanatic app, completely free. You can click on the Union logo, can hear us. And obviously, for when we're home, like this game, there is a feature which is nice for Apple TV if you want to hear the local radio call of the home team. I wish it was for you guys too, because I love Mike and Jason. They're phenomenal broadcasters, and they do an excellent job covering Atlanta. I know for you guys, but there's a way. Obviously, there's a feature to hear the local call, like toggling an audio feature. So really privileged to do the games. My 10th season with the Union. Now that since the Apple TV deal, I kind of more from the TV side with the team onto more of the radio, full-time radio now. So we travel home and away like Mike and Jason. So look forward to seeing them. And it was wonderful talking to you this morning and your crew.
As always, Dave, now that you have opened the door, you have golden ticket status. You know the link to come in. So anytime you want to come in and crash into the hour of chaos on Fridays or just whenever you want to shoot the breeze, you can crash and come in anytime. It's great to see you, my friend. Thank you for safe guesting. Enjoy the call this weekend. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend.
All right. Thank you again. Take care. Hope to talk to you again.
There goes Dave Leno, everybody. And so that's your opposition research for Friday. Getting ready for everything going on involving Philadelphia Union. And like I said, it's always a fun thing that we've started doing this year is running around and catching the opposition and getting our intel from either a play-by-play voice or someone in the booth or something like that we can sit there and we can gravitate toward and get the intel that we need as we get ready for Atlanta United in Philadelphia. Kevin Egan coming up in about 5 minutes from the Egan Studios, I believe. So last time out, as Dave was breaking things down when it came to the lineup last time, here's how it was going up against NYC, just as a reference point. He mentioned Rick in net, and they have it listed as a 4-4-2. And so this is SofaScore's 4-4-2, so it's just going to be names. As Dave mentioned, it's basically a 4-2-2-2 box. So here's the lineup last time. Kai Wagner, Oluwatu Makanya, Jacob Glesnes, Nathan Harriel. Nathan Harriel and Lukic had the highest score according to SofaScore last time out in the loss. Both had a 7.6. Abby, because of Dave Leno coming on to discuss Philadelphia Union, Parkey and Garza have slid to next week. Greg, I know, is globetrotting, and I'm thinking that Michael is trying to get gassed up and ready for Rhode Island FC hosting New England Revolution in Open Cup. So it was Dave was on his way to practice, and so we could grab him for opposition research. We gave Greg and Parkey and our friends at Beyond Goals the week off so they can come back refreshed next week. So you didn't miss them. But, we had to have Dave on in that particular time slot here at 9:30. So Rick in net. Once again, we don't know about Andre Blake, so we'll keep an eye on that. Wagner, Makanya, Glesnes, and Harriel, your back four. Then Indiana Vassilev, Lukic, Danley. So I was just going to say Danley Jean-Jacques, but it's just Danley, so it's just the one name. So it's Madonna, Tiger, Jack, Arnie, Danley. There we go. So now we know. And then Quinn Sullivan out on the right, and then your two up top, Baribo and Damiani. So it is Baribo, because I've heard Baribo, I've heard like Barabond, I've heard everything across the board. So Baribo and Damiani were the two forwards up top last time. So that was your lineup last time out against NYC as we get ready for this matchup this weekend with Philadelphia and Atlanta. I would anticipate the same kind of chippiness. And I don't know how many of you are going, but if you do, Rich, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Rich Ransom, our resident duper. Rich and his friends, go see him. Go check in. We need pictures posted to social media. And so Rich makes sure that you make all of the contacts necessary so everybody who might be traveling up to go catch this match can catch up with you. And full disclosure, the scarf that Rich gave me when he came down to Atlanta, it's right over there off camera. It's hanging right at eye level, right over there. So once again, if you're heading to Philly and you're heading to Chester, go catch up with Rich and catch up with them and everybody up there. Once again, in the parking lot before and after, it's as jovial as it is. And then on Monday, I'm sure we'll be raising hell with one another like we always do. But once again, great. It'll be great for the 17s to head north and catch up with Rich. And I know that Rich and everybody will be rolling out the Sons of Ben's carpets. And D. Graham, as you well should. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Hang on. Paramount Plus. That's the beauty of having this particular remote. So I'm going to see if I can put Wrexham on the Big 55 and see what and this is what I'm saying, Rich. This is what I'm saying. Rich admits no Union fans are not like Eagles fans. But like I said, we run all kinds of good-natured smack toward one another here. And when we see each other. And it's not like booing Santa Claus or anything like that. But no, when you go up to Philly, when you go up to Chester, Rich obviously make sure that everybody knows where they can get in touch with you and the tailgates and all those kinds of things, so they can catch up with you before the match and after the match, and if anybody comes up, then those kinds of things. So that's but seriously, yes, it's always fun when Rich comes down, and it's always fun when we get to go up and see Rich, and we'll find out what's going on there. So I'm sure that Paramount Plus will load. It'll take like 35 minutes for that to happen. But anyway, thanks to Dave for coming in. Literally, it was trying to navigate with Dave when he could do it, and with trying to navigate all the things. It's like, okay, he's on. He's having to navigate and juggle and navigate and deal with spring break and deal with youngins and deal with training camp and all these kinds of things. And we were lucky to grab him. So that was why this morning, the Friday free kick will be next week, provided Parky and Greg are not traveling the planet like they always are and trying to make sure that they can give us everything and all the intel that they need when it comes to our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring. But yeah, we were kind of pinned into a time slot with Dave to get all the intel that we needed on the Philadelphia Union. Look, it's like all I want, God bless America, all I want is to make sure that I can watch a match. That's all I want. I'm not asking for much. Anyway, hour number 2, going to wait for our buddy Kevin Egan to come up here in just a little bit, and then we'll go over everything involving Atlanta and Philadelphia in the final half hour, 45 minutes or so. Then we'll go over all the other juice boxes and everything else that's attached. See, now this is all right. Here's my rant for the morning. Not all streaming services are created equal, because some buffer, some take longer to load, especially on the large setups here. So all right, so we're in the there we go. Okay. Now, we're dialed in to, much like D. Graham, Wrexham and Bristol Rovers. That's the match that's going to be on the board over at the Big 55 for the remainder of the show. But once again, remember, it's going to be full. It's going to be full because we're going to talk juice boxes. We're going to talk everything. Oh, look at this. First time in a long time on a very special weekend. It's a very special blossom. Here we go. Let's bring in our buddy Kevin Egan to start hour number 2.
Good morning, Johnny boy.
Hey, brother, what's going on?
What is the crack, as we say in Ireland? That means, how are you? All well?
Well, yeah. Well, the crack is we're running about 500 miles an hour, kind of like somebody that you know, and making sure that it's you, brother. It's like when do you catch your flight to head north?
A little bit later on. Just in from the gym. I'm a sweaty Betty right now.
Whatever.
Went to do my burn boot camp up here with my wife.
So now who handles?
Wait, it's Kevin Patrick. He's not in Vegas. Says who's that? Ransomware 202. No, not anymore.
Yeah, that. Well, I was going to see if. That's Rich. Wait, hang on. Yeah, Rich Ransom. Yeah, Rich Ransom is our resident Philadelphia Union fan, and
nice.
So we do want to discuss Philadelphia and Atlanta as a part of your visit here. So who handles boot camp better? Is it you or is it the boss?
It is. It's funny. Meg destroys me with core stuff. Like if there's any kind of a plank competition or sit up competition, destroys me. But she hates doing sprints and stuff that I love. Yeah. So we're just different in that sense.
See, I just let the two of you do that, and it's like, give me my 4-mile walk once a week, and I'm in good shape.
Yeah.
And then by the time I'm done, an hour and 20 minutes later, I'm just like, nope, leave me alone. This ain't happening. I'm going to go sit in the corner and just go,
once a week, Johnny. You can be doing that every day. Come on.
I get it. I mean, how many steps do you get in a day?
10,000.
Wow.
Try to, no?
That's what I thought it was. Yeah, because you're supposed to get 10, or you're supposed to get, was it 8, or you're supposed to get 10?
I don't know. All I know is I'm turning 40 in a few weeks.
Oh, whatever.
I'm turning 40 in a few weeks, and I want to turn that corner into a new decade, fit and healthy. So doing my best.
Turning 40, whatever.
You're still in your mid-30s. What are you talking about?
Smart man. That's why I love you. So MLS 360. I want to get the MLS 360 question in here. What is the most interesting part about MLS 360? And what is when it comes to the broadcast in and of itself, what is the most challenging thing about MLS 360?
I think the most interesting, I'm trying to think about it from the viewer's perspective as opposed to in our seat, or maybe I'll give you our seat. The most interesting is just, I love the reactions of the analysts next to me. I can't focus on anything else but our main monitor and the show program monitor. Like, I can't focus on anything else. And I won't. I refuse to look at the 9 box that we have to our right-hand side that you'll often see Dax, Kale, and Sash and Brad looking at. So sometimes they go, and I'm like, don't react, stay the course and focus on what you're doing. So that's a lot of fun. My hope is that we can inform, educate, and entertain. And if somebody decides to tune into MLS 360 and give it a go for the first time, and they may not be the biggest fan of Major League Soccer, that by the end or an hour in, if you give us a go from 7:30 to 9:30, say that window, because this weekend we've got a boatload of games. First time in MLS history, we've got 15 games on a Saturday. Yeah, so I hope that we can inform and educate, entertain, have a bit of fun as well.
Well, and the idea for me doing the livest of the live television, like something like that, where you're basically just bouncing and bouncing and bouncing, there's a lot of trust. What I've always told folks about live television, don't know how many folks have a dog, but when you take your dog out for a run at the lake, and the dog, like if you've got a golden retriever just loves to go play fetch and gets the stick out of the lake. You throw the stick in the lake. The golden retriever goes and gets the stick and brings it back to you on the shore for round number 2. What do you see above the water line when it comes to that golden retriever? You just see the stick between the stick between the teeth, and he's just puffing and he's just doing his thing, and it's just all calm as he's coming back to shore. What's going on below the water line?
Yeah,
that golden retriever's doing this, man.
Yeah,
the stuff above the water line is what folks see on television.
Yeah.
What they don't see below the waterline is what happens to make live television be live television.
Yeah.
And it speaks a lot to the confidence you've got to have to the folks that are talking to you about, we got to go, those kinds of moments. You got to have that kind of confidence, and you got to be that locked in.
Yeah, and obviously we're trying to be as live as possible. Maybe we're 10 seconds behind at certain points because a goal goes in elsewhere, and our producer's got to quickly queue it up with the EVS machine, and in we go to another game. It's a lot of fun. I love the opening of the show in the sense that you can really get into each game maybe before a goal is scored. But sometimes we could have 8 games going on at the same time, and next thing a game kicks off. You're trying to speak about it for a second, but we got to bounce to another game. I couldn't pick a show that suits me more in terms of my own enjoyment. Genuinely, I've worked on many shows, and I would pick MLS 360 number 1. And it's not even close, just because of the people I'm working with and also what I get to cover and see. I'm looking at the comments here. I've never fully focused on the comments on this show, John, like I'm doing right now. Abby, good morning. Hope you're well. Love you to pieces. You're the best. Jordan, I did not know that happened. That's wild. And Alex, how are you? That's great that you met Shay Given. What a legend he is. Irish legend, Shay Given. So
yeah,
really cool.
This, and like I said, this is our version of 360 when we do the AM. It's like trying to balance the guests, what's going on in their mind, and then the comments.
Yeah, I love it.
It's all this kind of stuff.
No, you guys do such a phenomenal job.
Well, and thank you for that, sir. Reminder that you mentioned that you've got all the activity going on, all 75 games happening on Saturday, and you've got. I think you're going to have. At some point, do they have the 10 box all ready to go?
10, yeah, should have.
Because you're going to have 6 at 7:30, and then another 4 at 8:30. I think the math is right. So
$10.
You're going to have a 10 box, man.
This is the sort of stuff that gets John Nelson excited. You see a 10 box, you lose your mind, John.
I do. Because once again, it's that whole idea of hosting, and it's like, all right, I know I have all of these opportunities to tell stories simultaneously, and you'll have that one, you'll have the afternoon game in the barn, so you'll have at least highlights to get you into the 6, but then it's 6 chances to tell stories, or technically 12. Then it's another 4, and so you're having to sit there and you're juggling all 10 when it comes to what's going on here.
And we're at a stage of the season where we have real strong opinions on teams. We've seen enough now. We've seen enough from Atlanta to have a strong opinion on Atlanta, from Philadelphia, and so on. So a game for me, like Seattle, Nashville, is a fascinating game. Seattle have the exact same record right now as Atlanta. If you were to ask the question, honestly, and appreciate that comment from that's just come in there. 360 is a bomb. So much energy from you, sir. Thank you. I feel like with 360, if I don't meet the commentator's energy, so if there's a commentator on a game that hits a 9 out of 10 on a great goal, and our producer 4 seconds later says, "Go, Kev." If I come in at a 5 or 6 out of 10, it just doesn't. add up for the viewer. It doesn't sound right. So it's just, that's where hopefully the show has good energy. But Seattle and Atlanta, wow. At this stage of the season, John, but Seattle were many people's pick to win the Supporter Shield. Atlanta, absolutely. Everybody had Atlanta in the top 4 in the East this year. I don't know anyone that didn't.
Yeah. So then what's your diagnosis so far, Dr. Egan, about what's been going on with Atlanta so far here? Is, I know obviously expectations at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, and outwardly it's like you have one thing and right now you only have this to show for it.
Yeah. I think there's so many facets to what's going on right now. One, so let's focus on the positives first. The positives are there's chances being created in games. Hitting the woodwork twice in the last game. Miguel has a goal ruled off that I hate to see that decision made, even though I understand it. I understand the rule, and the player, blocking the cross doesn't have control of the ball. I get it when I read the rule book, but the fact that, John, it has such a small, it plays such a small role in the goal and rules out a beautiful strike from Miggy is a killer. There's positives in a lot of ways, but man, there's so many things that are concerning. And I saw Felipe Cardenas on Twitter yesterday talking about the personality within the team, and I couldn't disagree with him. I listened to it thinking, I see a lot of this. There's a lot of things in the game where I'm looking for big personalities. And I think when you look, and it doesn't need to be shouting and screaming. Michael Parkhurst had a massive personality on the field for Atlanta United without screaming and shouting all the time.
Yeah.
Darlington Nagbe, a huge personality in the way he stepped in moments, in the way he used his body to make a statement in games. These Atlanta United players, honestly, stop looking around for someone else to do it. Start doing it yourselves. It feels like that sort of a moment for these players that are clearly good enough in my mind. I think that it's way too soon to be judging Ronnie Deila too much. I've seen some comments out there that Ronnie Deila has got to go. I don't buy into that at all after 8 games. I think you've got to give a coach time. But it's not good enough from a team that have spent 50 million on an attack that you would expect more chances, more goals. But the issue, the big issue, I think, is the cohesion in midfield. And I would, with that team, with that group of players, I would switch to a 3-back. I would switch to 3-back. I would go wing backs, and I think you've got a big decision to make, whether it's Brooks Lennon or Saba Lobjanidze on the right-hand side. Right now, I think I'd lean towards Saba on the right-hand side as a wing back, Pedro Amador on the left, and I think in that sort of a system, you can get Miranchuk a little bit deeper while still having balance, and you can play Miguel Almiron off Manuel Lattelat.
All right, so that's diagnosis Kevin Egan. I feel like I need to get you a stethoscope for situations.
No, and it's not all doom and gloom. Like MLS is forgiving. The season could be turned around instantly, and I hope that's the case. I live in Atlanta. My son is wearing Atlanta United jerseys every day. I want this team to do well, and I want to try and get to more games if I could with James. But you're craving. You just want to see more as a fan watching the game right now from the players that are there. And it's not just the skill and the passing and the chance creation and the tactics. Sometimes it goes beyond that. And you think about leaders that Atlanta United have had, and those are the players, that personality that's been mentioned before right now, I think is missing.
Kevin Egan hanging out with us, head coach. He is the host, head coach and host. He is the host of hashtag MLS 360, because that's what they encourage, the hashtag MLS 360 on the weekends on Apple TV. When you look at, so follow-up question. How much time do you allot for patience when it comes to integrating who should be where and what and all these things when it comes to formation and laying everything out? Because we've seen out of the blocks, and yes, I know it was CF Montreal. We've seen against NYC in the comeback there. You've seen how electric this group can be with Miranchuk dropping back a little bit and being part of the process.
With who? Sorry, John.
With you had Miranchuk dropping back a little bit. Sorry,
Yeah.
I went native with the pronunciation. It's all the years I had spending hockey.
No, how'd you say it? I was just curious.
Miranchuk.
No, nice. I just didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's because I'm coming through with allergies, so it's Miranchuk. Yeah, so you have Miranchuk playing deeper, acting more of a playmaker. The space was there for him to create, and you saw what happened against NYC with the big comeback. You saw it early in the year with Lattelat and with Miggy and everybody coordinating against CF Montreal. So what I'm gathering from you here is what you're looking at stylistically. How much patience are you giving all of these new transactions to be a part of this new group to find themselves, or was your patience in training camp and you've got to hit the ground running? Where's your level of patience about integrating all these pieces?
It's an interesting one because Ronnie Dyla did say just a few days ago, if the players aren't doing it, they'll be gone. That right. He kind of said something. Am I right in saying that? You guys were probably there. It was something along those lines. I need to get the quote for my prep today, but that was a big thing to say, is that like he's a coach with a reputation of an MLS champion coming into this club from winning in 2021 with New York City. And I don't think he's going to want any players that aren't living up to the billing or aren't giving it absolutely everything. They need to move on, because the standards at Atlanta United have been set from the early days, and they should be held accountable, these players. I think Sasha and Brad have been talking a lot on the show, and Bradley made the point last week on Wrap Up that he sees a little bit of he sees Atlanta United as a counter-attacking team. Remember, with Tata Martino, this team played nearly counter-attacking football via possession, luring teams in, and then all of a sudden you find Nagbe in a little bit of a pocket. He sprays it wide for Tito Villalba, and away goes Miggy and Joseph. And all of a sudden, this team was flowing and attacking and fun and direct and lightning quick. The players like Saba, Miggy, Latte Lat are those profiles are similar. Miranchuk isn't that guy at all. Alexei Miranchuk is much more of a heavy possession style, I would think, from watching him over in Serie A, from speaking with some of my friends at CBS about Miranchuk over with Atalanta as well. Maybe in that system change, if there was to be one, he plays a little bit deeper, where he's a classy ball player, and he is that guy. We did a piece of analysis on the show a few weeks ago, Dax did, talking about that, just how he became that link. And all of a sudden, he looks so good doing it. And he's passing the ball in a much more impressive way than we've seen from Bartok Slish or from, Klick hasn't played a whole lot since he's been with the club. Tristan Mayumba's impressed, and I think Ronnie Dyla is a fan, but I like Miranchuk in that deeper role, and I do like Jay Fortune as well.
All right, so Maddie Cruz was at practice, and so hanging out with us here. She was hanging out in the green room, and so, yes, Kevin, get your caffeine in. There we go. So,
hey, Maddie.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, my friend? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great, thank you.
So Kevin was wondering about Ronnie at practice the other day, and I know that you and Jason on Training Ground Dispatch got the chance to see what's going on with Ronnie. And Ronnie's like, well, if you ain't performing, you ain't going to be out there. True? You're not going to be here. You're not going to be out there. You're not going to be here, period. What was the vibe with Ronnie Dyla this week?
Well, I'll tell you, if you watched our dispatch, me and Jason said it. I think out of the time I think for me, I've only been really a part in covering the club for about a year now, but I think Jason even said it. I said it. I think that was one of the best media availabilities I've ever attended.
Wow. Why is that?
It was just so open and raw, and it was very much laid all out on the table. And it was everything. It talked about everything and like what needs to be done. And the thing that I think I took away from it was, people are asking like his philosophy, what he wants to do. And it's very much, he's like, but it's not my philosophy. It has to be Atlanta's philosophy. It has to be whatever it is. I want players to contribute. I want them to do things. But it's something that resonated with me, even with Bartosz Slisz when he talked this week. Like, he thinks they're being too nice. And I agree. I want to see some grittiness. I want to see them go out there. If a player gets trekked down, I want everyone coming in.
But I want to see it from him too.
Absolutely.
It's all well and good. Players can talk all they want.
Absolutely.
The greatest leaders this club has ever seen, Michael Parkhurst and Darlington Nagbe, in my mind. Both of them didn't speak a whole lot. So if players want to go and have media availability and impress the media through their wonderful, gritty tones, come on. That's all well and good, but be that guy in the dressing room and be that guy in the field and set the tone inside the first 5 minutes.
I agree. I agree. Because I think we've seen glimpses of it from him too. We've seen glimpses of it, I think, last season in particular, and I want to see more of it this season. And I mean, what better way to prove that you got the greediness than going up against the Philadelphia Union?
I mean, you got Philly and Kevin. We know what Philadelphia and Atlanta, when those two go up against each other, it's like two rams on a mountainside on National Geographic.
Yeah, it is, and Philadelphia right now have gone off the boil a little bit too. But I do like a lot of their pieces. hated the Gazdag trade on their part because they're already, Ernst Tanner's talking about maybe we'll do something in the summer. And you're thinking, no, you've just brought in $4.5 million. You've got to go and spend it. Go and help Bradley Carnell, he's a fan of Indy Vassilev. I get it. He's going to play Indy Vassilev in that role, but Vasilev's never been a goal scorer. You're not replacing the goals from your all-time leading goal scorer in Daniel Gazdag. I would nearly like to see more minutes from Kevin Sullivan if that's the case. And let's see if he can be a little bit more goal dangerous. But Baribo's gone off the boil a little bit of late. Damiani looks good. I think he prefers Damiani and Ty Baribo to lead the line. I think Jan Glavinovic is a huge loss at the back for them. Yep. He's been a big player since coming in early in the season. I thought he looked really good. Former Newell's player. So when he went up against Messi, I went on his Instagram and I could see on his Instagram he had a photograph of when he played for Newell's against Messi and how he's just God to him. And anyway, I just think it's two teams right now that are desperate for all 3 points. And I think Atlanta, with the counter-attacking players that they can have, I think if Atlanta can be strong defensively, there's goals in this team for sure.
All right, you want to cut the promo? Because I know that you got to go and shower and catch a plane and all those kinds of things. Cut the promo for us so we can watch the 10 box coming up this weekend.
It is the first time in MLS history we've got 15 games on Saturday. 15 games. We've got 30 teams in the league now. Everybody competing on Saturday for a first time, including Columbus, Miami, the only 2 unbeaten teams in Major League Soccer. Who's better? You decide. We'll find out on Saturday as well. But MLS 360 is where it's at. We're going to have, what did we say, John? 10 games going on at the same time on MLS 360. John Nelson's going to have himself a $10. And join us for the ride here. I'm seeing some great comments. Use the hashtag MLS 360. Get involved in the chat too.
All right. So who's going to win, Cody or Cena?
Cody or Cena? This is a tough one. I love both of those guys.
Well,
as people, they're 2 of my favorite people.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna go Cody. Cody's the local boy up here. I'm gonna go Cody.
Clean finish, or are you gonna have some shenanigans?
No, there's no chance to clean finish. No chance. You joking me?
Well, and full disclosure, somewhere in my stacks, I have an interview with a young Cody Runnels when he won a state championship at Lassiter High School.
Yeah.
It's on DVC Pro, and I've got it. It's one of the most fun interviews I ever did because in his corner for that match, Glacier, some guy named Dusty Rhodes, and Diamond Dallas Page. They were in his corner in the match, and Dustin called in the middle of the interview. Dusty answers his cell phone, and he's like on camera, and he's trying to figure out who it is while I'm talking to Cody. And he goes, "Here, it's Dustin," literally while the interview is going on. And so I have to talk to Dustin Rhodes on a cell phone while I'm talking to Cody with a microphone and Dusty in the interview after he won the title.
Dusty always knew how to entertain.
Oh, American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. As always, my friend, now that you have the keys to the kingdom, you can come in the hour of chaos whenever you want. Basically, on Fridays, we're always talking this, and this is what this block is for. I've kept you for 3 minutes. Sergei Demyanchuk, the 4th official, has gotten mad because we've gone past the number that's on the light board. Love you very much, my friend. Just be safe. Get up there. Have a great show. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to take a picture of the 10 box.
John, how have I never seen all these comments before on the show? I'm loving all the. Thanks for stopping by, Kev. Appreciate you. Thank you. And Cena breaks Flair's record. Yeah, could very well happen. I'll just say this. I had 3 wonderful years with WWE. I was more than happy. I needed to turn the page. I was gone from my family constantly, like 5-6 days a week of young kids. And I love soccer is my love. Cena and Cody Rhodes, 2 of the best guys. 2 of the best guys for everybody in that building. So to see those 2 collide is a real special moment, I know, for Cody. And we'll see. I could care less who wins. In all truth, like as long as they put on a masterpiece, which I know they will, that's all that matters. But I'll be focusing on MLS 360.
Yeah, you'll be kind of busy on the Tuesday weekend out in Vegas. Love you, my friend. Don't be a stranger.
Love you guys too. Thanks. See you, Maddie. All the best, everybody. Take care, guys.
There goes Kevin. So Kevin's going to go and get ready for his flight to New York. That's always fun when we can sit there and grab Kevin and find out what's going on. Okay. For those that have not had the chance to catch the TGD, otherwise known as the Training Ground Dispatch, the TGD, brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. So some of your takeaways this week from your time up there at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it, and I'll say it again. I really would recommend if you're going into this weekend, just trying to get ready. Definitely watch Ronnie Dyler's press conference. I think a lot of it, of what he talks about, he kind of just sets the scene and really explains a lot of the nitty gritty stuff that I think needs to be heard. And I think he talks about, like, finding this aggression, finding it. And I've said it before, like, we saw that fight against NYC. We saw them be able to come back and get that 4-3 victory. We saw that. I want to see that aggression, and I want to see that grittiness throughout every game. And Kevin's absolutely right. I think Bartosz Slisz can be that guy, because from what he talked about in media, it really felt like he could, and I want to see that on the field. I want to see him be the person who's kind of mean, who's kind of just a mean guy out there who can just be that presence. If he can do that, then absolutely, because I think we've seen it from him already. We've seen it last season, and I want to see it more. I want to see more of it, and I want to see just some of that grit and some of that just pure, just like fight and just clawing your way through it. And I mean, seriously, you're going to need it against the Philadelphia Union. I know they're under new management, and especially with everything they're trying to do, but from watching the game against NYC that they played last weekend, it's kind of the same. Like, there's still the foundations there of it. They're just a very aggressive style of play. That's how they play. You got to make sure that you're aware of it, because, Philly's going to capitalize on a response. They're going to try to get a response out of you. How do you respond to it? And that's going to be the question.
So basically, what you're looking for is, and if the bleep would work, and it would work several times over at the volume level that I would like, you're looking for people to be more of an a-hole.
A little bit, yeah. I want to see it. I need to see it. Like, there was a couple of times against NYC, excuse me, New England Revolution. There's so many, like, names that were like New, or like New York. Sorry, I just had a moment.
Starts with the letter. It's brought to us by the letter N.
Yeah. I'm still drinking my coffee, guys. We're chilling. No, but I think against New England Revolution, I saw moments, like Alexi would get brought down, or Latte Lath would get brought down, and like they were hard challenges, and like it was kind of just like, nope, we're good, keep going. I'm like, I want to see that. If you see that happening to your player, you're going after them. Like, I think back to the LAFC Inter Miami game in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Messi gets absolutely trekked, and the entire team rushes to defend him. That's what I want to see. We want to see more of that. Like, I want to see more of that gritty type of style of play. I want to see the aggression. I want to see a lot of that. And this team has it. Like, we've seen it. I want to see it I want to see it on the pitch. I want to see it in those moments. And I want to see it, and what better test than Philadelphia Union? Because honestly, I don't even know how this game's going to go. I really don't.
Well, I mean, so since we are in this particular section of the program here, Philadelphia is a juice box favorite at a plus 104. That number has changed. It has drifted more toward even money than anything else. It was Philadelphia was more of a pronounced favorite on the plus side. I think it was like in the plus 120s, plus 130s. That has drifted now to a plus 104. Atlanta's numbers really haven't changed a whole lot. They've still been in around plus 230. They're at a plus 234. 90-minute draws a plus 266 as part of the activity there at 730/740. So, I mean, you've seen the confidence of Rich in the Twitch pitch, and so he's not all that confident. And there are some folks on both sides, like two teams who have fan bases that are kind of like, oh, I don't know. And so you're probably going to have one of those where it might end up being highly competitive after 90 minutes. But yeah, you want to see a little mean streak. You want to see a little sandpaper. You want to see a little a-hole. That's, literally to your point, the LAFC Miami match where Messi gets hip checked and you end up with a yellow card, and that turns into like a 6v6 scrum and that kind of thing. So no, I think that sandpaper, if used constructively, being an a-hole if done constructively, I think that you can channel that in a positive. It's just that there's a fine line with that edge, and you don't want to go over that edge and get cards and put your team at a disadvantage. I think that's probably the bigger one of the things to think about here in this.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. It's that fine balance of like, okay, where's the line? Where's too far? Where's this? And I think if Philadelphia, it's an interesting one because, Philadelphia is kind of going through the same thing. I agree with Kevin. I thought the Gazdag transfer was a little bit crazy. I mean, it's great for Columbus. Columbus is going to be great. Columbus is great. Columbus is like, yes. Wilfred Nancy's like, woohoo. And you know what? Fair enough. Me too. I would be the same way.
Well, I think that's if that happened with Wilfred Nancy, that would be the most emotion that he has shown at any given time, short of being killed.
It's for me, like when you make the move, especially so I feel like prematurely, I don't know how I feel about it. Especially because you're still rebuilding. You're rebuilding under a new head coach, and you get these pieces, and then like one gets taken away, one key piece, and you're like, oh, okay, all right, I guess we're rolling. But hey, like maybe it does bring the opportunity to bring in some more of those people. Maybe we do see Kevin Sullivan maybe step up in those moments. It could be cool. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but I mean, obviously they can try that not against Atlanta. They can try that another time if they want to. But no, but I think they're both kind of in the same situation right now of trying to figure out some things, trying to figure things out, make things stick. Because you look at the NYC game that they played on the road. I thought the goal was kind of a fluke. Like the way it happened was really strange because I remember watching it and I was just like, that's a weird goal. But it's just, you got to find those opportunities. And, Philadelphia Union back at home, like it'll be an interesting one. It'll be an interesting one to see how they respond to obviously everything happening on their circle, and then how Atlanta can come into this one after, not getting the best results or, not getting the points you needed at home.
We've got, let's see. No, that's old news. I can't do that. That's old news. I can't go there. All right. All right. So let's go through the juice boxes. I know that Jason's set to join us at another point here in the half hour that we have left here.
Late.
Well, I mean, he said it might.
I'm just kidding.
He said it might be like 20 till or quarter till. Or
then never mind. He's not late. Then I'm lying to you.
Yes, because you're a fibbing fibber.
Yes.
All right. So the rest of the matchups at 145. Austin and LAG. Austin is a minus 116 at home. 90-minute draw is a plus 269. Los Angeles Galaxy on the road a plus 296. What say you, Maddie Cruz?
It's Austin. Austin's taking it. LA Galaxy have just not been. They've not been. I really like. I think, and honestly, like Austin is an interesting one too to me. Like especially with how they've reconstructed and everything too. But I think Austin's taking that one home, especially they are the home team. You said right? I'm not crazy.
No, Austin.
Okay. I haven't had the chance to pull up the schedule, so you started going, and I was like, oh god, I was like, I got to pull it up. No, I'm going Austin for sure.
Okay, so pull up the schedule.
Hold on, I'm going right now. Give me a second.
Yes. And so here, for the remainder of the time, it's the review of Major League Soccer and the weekend whip around. And
ready.
Jason.
All right, got it. I'm ready.
We'll talk.
I'm ready.
Keep going. Second matchup at 4:30, which translates into 4:40. By the way, since the 145, according to the juice boxes, which means it's 155 because it's on Big FOX. So once again, add 10 minutes to the time that we talk about here. So 4:30, probably one of the biggest matches of the weekend. Set your fantasy teams accordingly. Crew at home hosting Messi and Friends. Messi and Friends on the road, a plus 192. Your draws a plus 256, and Crew at home against Messi and Friends a plus 127. What say you, Maddie Smith? Maddie Cruz. Yeah.
I don't know. It's really interesting. That one is definitely one that like I'll be driving up to the studio. I might have to maybe get up to Colony Square a little bit earlier to maybe try to sit somewhere to watch that game. That way I'm not, it's Saturday. I won't be in crazy traffic, but still. But I could see that one ending in a draw, but like a crazy draw. Like I could see it being like a 3-3 craziness, because I'm also thinking about it too. It's a really, really big matchup, but you got to think about it this way. Next week on Thursday, Inter Miami has to go on the road to Vancouver for the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Mm-hmm. That's another thing to consider in this sort of piecing of it. How are they going to manage those minutes? I mean, you have a little bit more time. You have a little bit more time to rest or recover, but that doesn't include traveling. That doesn't include what you're doing there. I'm interested to see how they balance that. I think for this one, though, because of just the stakes of it, of being the last two teams who are unbeaten, I think it's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be 3-3 draw. That's my final. I think that's what's going to be.
Bristol Rovers have scored in the 33rd minute, so they now have a 1-0 lead on Wrexham. So keep an eye on that one. Yeah, Paramount Plus, like I said, takes forever for it to buffer and load, and so I might be like 9 minutes behind everybody else. But anyway, on the Big 55. All right, CF Montreal on the purple team in Montreal, and CF Montreal is an underdog, no shock at a plus 179. Your draw is a plus 234. Purple team is a plus 149. 149. What say you? What say you, Maddie Cruz?
Oh, the allergies are really hurting you. Oh my god.
You ain't kidding.
I think Orlando's doing this one. Montreal, unfortunately, obviously getting rid of Laurent Courtois, which, listen, I could get on my soapbox again about it, but I'm not going to because it's past, it's done, whatever. I think it was a big mistake for Montreal. I think Montreal's now in a weird crisis right now of what they're trying to do. I think Orlando's been solid, and I think that I think Orlando's going to go and get the job done.
Yep, and that's kind of where I just,
listen. I don't listen. Makes me mad.
Just the lack of patience, but once again, lack of patience, and Joey Saputo, once again, they're in concert with one another every single time out. Charlotte and San Diego. Charlotte at 7:30. And now this is match number 2 of the 6-pack that you'll have on the screen with MLS 360. Charlotte at home against San Diego is a plus 129. Draws a plus 237. San Diego is a plus 202. What say you, Maddie Cruz?
This one's also interesting. I mean, you have 2 teams who are right now top in their conferences. You have San Diego, who I believe is 3rd, and then Charlotte, who is 2nd. I think it's a fun matchup. San Diego's really surprised me this season. I've been really, really surprised with how they've been playing. I do think Charlotte gets the win. I think Charlotte will get a win. I think it'll be like a 2-1 win. But that one I think will be one that just looks really competitive on both ends. Like, I feel like this might be one we look at the score line and we go, oh, but it's like really competitive. But I think it could be a 2-1 win, but I think it's going to go to Charlotte.
Revs and NYC. Revs are a plus 142. And let's see, NYC is a plus 186, and your 90-minute draw is a plus 239. Let's say you, Maddie Cruz.
I mean, listen, you got NYC. They're coming off of a high. They get to come home. They beat us in our home. They're riding high. I'm interested to see how they take that momentum going back at home. I think I'm going to go New York because I think New York is the better team right now. I think that they're going to come in and I think they're going to get the job done. But I'm interested to see how New England bounces back after getting that result against us here at the Benz. I'm interested to see how they respond and how they take that momentum and how they shift it.
Red Bulls hosting DC United in Harrison, New Jersey. Red Bulls on the minus side, a minus favorite at a minus 119. Draws a plus 254. DC United is a plus 322. What say you, Maddie Cruz?
Red Bulls are winning it.
I don't think – well, but I mean, honestly, after what happened in San Jose, I'm still wondering how much patience the front office is going to have on Troy Lacine and figure out, okay, so who's staying, who's going, who wants to be here. And then, sadly, it's probably going to end up being Troy Lacine first and foremost that would be shown the door because you can only do so much with players and windows. But I legitimately thought – I was shocked that the coach made it onto the tarmac and onto the plane after what happened in San Jose.
Yeah, that was rough for them. That was rough. I don't know. I still think Red Bulls get the job done. I do. I just don't think we've seen enough of it from DC. We haven't seen it. I mean, you look at their most recent matches, they are on a 4-game losing streak. 4-game losing streak. Obviously, as we saw against San Jose, that 6-1 loss. I don't know. I'm still going Red Bulls. I think Red Bulls got it. Red Bulls got it for sure. How DC United can get back into it, it's possible, but I don't know. Red Bulls for sure.
Philly's a plus 104. Atlanta's a plus 234. 90-minute draws a plus 266. We'll save the conversation on that one. Seattle and Nashville in Seattle. Afternoon kick for our buddy Nico Moreno. 4:40 local time at Lumen. Seattle's a minus 141. Draws a plus 267. Nashville is a plus 392. What say you, Maddie Cruz?
Nashville, I feel like, is a team that I still can't grasp. I feel like it's so like up and down. Like I never know. Like one day I feel like it's like, oh, they're really good, and then the next day I'm like, oh, that was like really bad. That was really rough. And I don't know. I mean, they got a really good result against Real Salt Lake, so that's really good for them, especially that was at home. But now they go on the road to face Seattle Sounders. And listen, Seattle right now, I know that like it's kind of where you look at them, you're like, I don't know. I never count out Seattle, no matter what. I never count them out. There's times where like they'll be, very, very bad in the first half of the season, then they come back and they end up like being like fourth or third. Like I think Seattle's a really solid team, and I'm just looking at both of them and I just don't know. I think Seattle. I think Seattle's gonna take it. I think they have a really, really good. I think they're really good at home. I think they're gonna take that one.
Chicago and Cincinnati, the beginning of the 10 box on MLS 360, 840 kicks. Chicago and Cincy. Chicago at home is a plus 140. Draws a plus 233. FC Cincinnati, as we're talking about it in the composite, a plus 189. What say you, Maddie Cruz?
Give me Berhalter. Let's go. Chicago. Chicago's got it. It's where they have been. I think this is a really interesting Chicago Fire team. It's really interesting with what they've been able to do. I think Chicago can. I think Chicago can take it. If not a win for Chicago, I think it might be a draw. I think it might be a draw because again, Cincinnati. I mean, they're really solid. I think with the Vander, I think they've really added a lot of good pieces. But you look at Cincinnati, and they got that. They obviously got that. I'm going through FootMob as I'm doing this. I'm multitasking. This is rough. They got that 1-0 victory over DC United on the road. So if they're on another road streak, we'll see. I think I'm going to go Berhalter, though. Why not? I love chaos. Let's do it.
We're on the weekend whip around section. Jason, what do you think?
What do I think about what?
Chicago and
Cincy. Two teams that I don't necessarily know how I feel about them yet. And like we're a quarter of the way in. I think a lot of people are jumping to a lot of conclusions about teams, which is part of the deal. That's what we do. It's what happens. But these are two that I think Chicago's a lot better than they have been. Cincinnati, I wondered if Evander would be the element to make them better or to even to keep them at the same level. I'm still not all the way sold. I think they're both solid teams, but are they breaking away from the upper middle of the pack in the East? I don't know. Maybe we get a little bit of that lesson in this one.
To catch Jason up, we've wandered into the 10 box section of the program from MLS 360. Austin and LAG, what do you think?
Austin's got to get their offense going. We've had this conversation here in Atlanta, but I think Austin's been even more of a problem offensively. But where they've counteracted that is defensively, where they've been far better than I would have expected. So Austin against a bad defensive LA Galaxy team, they should be able to take care of this. If they don't, I've got some questions.
Crew and Inter Miami, what do you think?
Miami's got to start to hit a wall with all these games at some point, and they go to Vancouver on Thursday. Do they rotate a little bit? Do they figure that out? I mean, trip to Cleveland, back to Fort Lauderdale, trip to Vancouver, back to Fort Lauderdale. That's a lot of travel. How are these guys going to handle that? But look, as good as Wilfred Nancy has been in making the Crew better than anybody expected after they sold Cucho, Javier Mascherano has been really, really good with Miami in terms of how they defend now. It's not what it was previously. It is very organized. I think the team is starting to take on that spirit of Mascherano, and he's done an amazing job. He deserves a lot of credit for it. Can he do it again in Cleveland, which I'm really curious to see what the atmosphere is going to be like? Is it going to be more neutral? Is it going to be more big event atmosphere? Is it going to be hardcore Crew? I don't know. I think it's going to be more of an event kind of atmosphere. And my concern for Columbus would be that if that happens and Messi or Jordi Alba really get going and start to create some excitement, that the crowd doesn't go against them, but helps Miami through some tired legs. I think it's going to be a very entertaining draw, and both teams stay unbeaten.
Orlando City on the road favored at Stade Saputo.
Orlando should be able to handle that. Montreal, I mean, you've moved on for Courtois. You got to figure out what you're going to be. I don't know stylistically where they're going to go in the long run. It feels like they're treading water at the moment. Orlando's got to take advantage of that. If they're as good as they showed last year and as good as we think they can be, then they have to show that in games like this. This is a very winnable game on the road. Do they? I'm not 100% sure that they do. I think they will, though.
All right, so now Jared is joining us for the Fatal Four-Way as we go rapid fire through everything, and we're saving the discussion. Jason, how long do we have you, by the way?
Till the end, unless you're planning on going till like 1 o'clock or something.
No.
But the face he just made when my screen popped up was everything I needed today.
I had so many things I wanted to say, and John kept talking, so I didn't get to say them.
Oh, why didn't? Well, then go ahead and say them.
No. The moment's gone.
The moment's passed.
The moment's gone. I'm not going to force it.
Fine, whatever. Charlotte.
More material for the media game.
Yes. Charlotte. Charlotte and San Diego. What do you think?
Charlotte's, I think, 7 in a row that they've won at home, and they've scored multiple goals in all of them going back to last year. They've made Bank of America Stadium one of the toughest places to go in and get a result. San Diego has played 4 games on the road. They've won 2. I think Charlotte gets it done, but I think they get tested here in a little bit different way, and it's going to be a tight one, but Charlotte finds a way to win.
Jarrett, Revs favored at home against NYC at a +142.
Yeah, Revs, despite what happened last week and all the controversy surrounding it, the Revs can't consistently score. They just can't. And as much as we've wanted to bellyache for the last week about the lack of goals, it wasn't for the lack of chances, or frankly, the ball put in the back of the net twice. That was called back, one time controversially, one time correctly. I don't think they can keep throwing clean sheets over and over again, and I don't know when that offense shows up. So for now, allow me to continue to pick against the Revs because they just haven't shown me they can score consistently.
Scoreless draw.
+239 on that one.
I'll go with that.
Jason, Red Bulls DC, Red Bulls -119.
Red Bulls should handle that. DC just isn't that good. I mean, I feel bad for DC fans. I feel bad for Troy Lesane. I think it's going to end up costing him his job, but they're just not that good. Christian Benteke it will. I think that's part of the reason. I think they want to have a hard reset and just do it then. Like, just put a good team on the field and just make the changes that you want to make. You went out on a limb to give a young manager an opportunity, and then you don't give him anything to work with. Christian Benteke has done a lot on bad teams in DC, but he's one guy, and he can win aerial duels, and he's great at it. I think the Red Bulls are a better team, and they get the win.
Jarrett, Seattle, Nashville, Seattle -141.
Nashville seems to have figured out how to score and kind of found themselves, and I think some of this is BJ Callahan bringing some of that Philadelphia FU mentality that it sometimes is going to pop up and be rubbing people the wrong way. Hey, Rich, speaking of, but also I think they're in the middle of that transformation going from the Gary Smith ball to being better on the ball. Like them losing to Charlotte a couple weeks ago in Charlotte was not reflective of that game. Charlotte pulled 2 goals out of their ass in the last 10 minutes, one on a penalty, one on a good bit of individual skill. And Pep Biel playing a perfect ball.
Well, and also Walker Zimmerman getting injured.
Yeah, Walker Zimmerman getting his head busted open almost. And then, like, the next week, Tim Ream coughing up blood. Both U.S. center backs had a really bad 2 weeks.
Bad times.
Yeah, man, bad times. But I think Nashville is on the up and up here. I think part of it is BJ Callahan changing the way they play. Seattle, I never know. Like, I'm going to sit here, John, I've said this to you before. We can sit here and bemoan Seattle, and at the end of the day, I feel like we're going to look up, they're going to be in 4th place somehow. So, I don't know. Trust the process with Schmetzer until the process doesn't work, and then give him a gold watch and let him have a front office job.
Yep.
They both broke up losing streaks last week. They both got wins. But here's your crazy stat of the weekend. Seattle's never scored a goal against Nashville.
Wow.
3 games. I mean, but still, they've never scored against Nashville.
Crazy.
Weird.
I feel like that changes, not just because Walker Zimmerman, we don't know what state he's going to be in, but it's not the same. Nashville isn't the same kind of Nashville it was in the past. It's a fun, crazy stat, though, for sure. I'm not trying to take that away.
No, it's a weird one.
Jason, to catch us up, Chicago hosting Cincinnati, Chicago to +140.
We talked about that.
Oh, we did? Okay, then
yes.
That's when you came in. All right.
Yes.
So then fine. Maddie, Houston, Colorado. Houston's a -112. Colorado a +300. And your draw's a +257.
Listen, Colorado is my underdog team. I think they're going to do it. I say Colorado. R.I.P. Jason. I know you like the Houston Dynamo, but
Houston has been very disappointing for Jason.
exactly.
I want to be proud of the Houston Dynamo.
I think Colorado, though. I think Colorado can do it. I have faith in the Rapids.
Dynamo win.
Whoa. Rude.
Jarrett?
That's rude.
Oh, no, Colorado. But I'm also a believer in Chris Armas. And I feel very vindicated in my, if you would give Chris Armas a functional roster and some money, maybe he can make things happen. And it seems to be where we're at.
Chris Armas was victim of being an American coaching in England and getting yelled at a lot by people who don't know any better. And
He was
he's
also
a much better coach than he gets credit for.
He is, and he was also a victim of going to Toronto, which no one should ever do.
Nobody should do that. No, that probably doesn't need to happen. Sorry, Robin Fraser.
No.
I still don't know if Robin Fraser's a good coach or not, because he was in Colorado, where Colorado refused to spend money, and now he's in Toronto, which is, again, no matter how bad you think your team is going, there's always a Toronto in your life.
I think there's at least a glimmer that he's a good coach because he did get Colorado to winning a regular season Western Conference crown. It was a 2021 regular season, which was not a normal regular season, but it's something. But yeah, I don't think we're going to learn anything about his time in Toronto. I think Armas has gotten some talent in Colorado. It's usually like discarded talent from other places, but they've been able to find a way and find something that works. And like I said, I mean, I think these are two good youngish managers. I mean, Olsen's got so much experience, but he's still like on the younger side. And these are two guys who, for whatever reason, aren't in the favorites list of a lot of people around the league. And I think they have consistently showed that they can punch above their weight. So I think it'll be a good match. I think it will. I like both teams, but I'm going to root for the home team in Houston.
Jason, Loons and SCD. Loons are a -152. Draws a +300. FC Dallas a +392.
The Loons have less than 38% of the possession this season, which is just a crazy.
Pretty sure that they're on pace to set a league record.
Yeah, if they maintain that, I mean, they're going to run into somebody who's going to test it, I would think, and it's going to throw the numbers off. But I don't know. They're finding a way to get it done. They haven't lost since opening day. So Dallas ended up not getting a shot on target against Seattle last time out in the win for the Sounders. I think Minnesota continues on and they get another win.
Maddie?
Yeah, I think Minnesota takes this one. I think they do. Dallas has been interesting. You would think, bringing in Acosta, that like it would get something going there, but we just haven't seen it. You haven't seen it. And yeah, I think the Loons are gonna mysteriously keep going forward, and they're gonna, take this one.
If Dallas can get Anderson Julio back healthy for a good period of time, I think they might look different. I think they looked better when they had him. They got hurt, and it's kind of gotten a little disjointed. I think they have the potential to be much better, but not yet.
Yeah.
The power of the quarter zip. Jarrett, what do you think?
He who stops Peter Musa stops the world.
Well, he stopped himself. He's got an ankle sprain, might not make the trip.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm definitely in the Minnesota camp here, but I'm in the Minnesota camp in that I don't trust Minnesota beyond the regular season right now, because when you get to the playoffs and teams get cagey and teams get more careful and more pragmatic in playoff games, I don't know what Minnesota has if teams start saying, no, we're not going to carry 70% for you. We're going to make you do some work too.
It's a different flavor of what we've talked about historically with like a Red Bull and a Philly and teams that are not comfortable with the ball. At some point in a playoff game, somebody's going to test you and give you the ball and say, what can you do with it? Minnesota, I don't know if they have something else. They're great in transition. They're great on the counter. Can they carry a game? I'm not sold on that yet, but they can get a lot of points in the regular season, and then you get home field advantage, and we see what it looks like. And then everybody saying that a potential calendar change is going to ruin the northern markets will have to go to St. Paul, Minnesota for an MLS Cup if they make a run, because they're going to have an advantage playing in cold weather in the playoffs.
The last four: St. Louis favored at home on the plus side, hosting Vancouver. RSL favored on the minus side at a minus 147, hosting Toronto. Portland favored at home against LAFC at a plus 141. San Jose favored a minus 104, hosting Sporting. Jason, what about those four?
RSL will win with the new ownership bounce. That's going to be officially announced here in a little bit, but it's out everywhere that the former Utah Jazz owners are now back in pro sports in Salt Lake City. They've bought RSL and the Utah Royals. $600 million, I think, valuation between the two and all the stadiums and properties and such. So RSL gets the bounce in that. I think you look at Vancouver, and we've been saying it for a while, like you got to wonder when the magic runs out, but it ain't running out. But they do have to prepare for a home first leg of the CONCACAF semifinal against Miami, and that might be what makes it run out, because you might have to rotate even more heavily. And they've been able to find a way through it so far, but I wait for that time that they can't. Those are the two that stick out to me about those.
Maddie, what about those last four?
Don't doubt the Whitecaps. I don't doubt them for a second. I
I'm
think
doubting a little bit just because of this.
I don't know. Every time I've doubted them, they've done the impossible. They've kept going. So I have hope. I think Vancouver's going to go on the road. I think that they'll do something. I think they'll get the result. I don't know if it's a win. I don't know if it's a tie. I don't know. They're going to get a result. That one, and then I'm trying to see if anything else really sticks out. No, I think that's the only one. That's the only one for me. Vancouver. I think they got it. I think LAFC and Portland will be an interesting one too. Yeah,
Portland beats LAFC.
Okay.
Portland's unbeaten in 5, and LAFC has forgotten how to play soccer these days. They've remembered how to defend,
LAFC
and they've remembered how to be boring, but they've forgotten how to play soccer.
Yeah. True.
It's really unfortunate.
Jarrett, what about those last four for you?
Vancouver continues to just not even sneaky anymore. Vancouver's just good. They're fun, and Brian White he's kind of become a meme, I think, for a lot of people in the smug soccer community. But you have to give Brian White his flowers. I believe he's their all-time scorer now, and he keeps scoring in big games. He keeps stepping up when it matters, and he's been a delight out there. RSL takes care of Toronto. Give me Portland over LAFC, and then can I give you a couple stats on San Jose and the fight in Bruce Arenas?
Go for it.
San Jose is first in the league in shots, first in the league in shots on target, second in the league in goals, and second in the league in XG.
And what's
the
the
Bruce
record?
Arena Revenge Tour will be televised.
But what's the record?
I didn't realize I was going to have to have the same conversation I've been having about Atlanta for the last 2 years. But
I mean, if you're going to have it about one side, you have to have it about the other.
3-1-4 and 10 points.
Hey, I've spent a lot of time defending how this team in the past was playing when they were generating all of the goal scoring opportunities and all the key passes and yelling at brick walls about it. So I will continue to do the same thing I did for Atlanta for San Jose, as they keep trying to score goals. And if you want a team that's going to try and win a shootout, Bruce Arena's got you covered.
I'll transition it to the Atlanta-Philly game with something Ronnie Dyla said yesterday. First off, go listen to his whole press conference. I was telling Maddie afterwards, I feel like it is the best coach's press conference that I've heard in my life before a game, in terms of a coach telling you exactly how he wants his team to play and be. Super clear, super, just breaking it down in detail, but I don't think it's over anybody's head. Really, really impressive. And one of the things that stuck out to me, I know the old cliche is that defenses win championships. Ronnie feels differently. He thinks you have to be able to attack to win. And I agree with him. And it goes back to what we've talked about with, we've mentioned it with Minnesota. We've talked about it in the past with Red Bulls and Philly. There comes a point where you've got to be able to attack. You have to. You can get to a certain point defensively, but when you get to the elite of the elite, when you get to that round, you get to the quarterfinals, you get to the conference finals, everybody's good. And everybody's going to be to a certain level defensively. You've got to be able to score goals. You have to. And that's what he wants out of this group. They are going to attack. Everything is about how they attack. And I had this conversation yesterday about high school soccer, and it all translates. I think at times we try to separate things like, oh no, it's not the same way. You can learn things about the game and how it functions by watching a high school game, by watching a U14 game. It doesn't always directly translate, but you can learn things. And it's something stood out to me about West Forsyth and their girls yesterday. This is a super high powered team, and we've talked to their coaching staff, and they are super risky in terms of how many numbers they send forward and how wide open it is. And, Maddie, we've talked about this with Miami's academy teams and their second team, and they do the same thing. At times it was like a 2-3-5, and they would just be all over you in the attack. Well, it's a lot easier to defend when the ball's 80 yards away from your goal, isn't it? It's a lot easier to defend when you flood the attack and you're really good at scoring goals, and the other team says, "Oh crap, I got to drop guys behind the ball." Now you got to deal with transitions and all that. That's definitely true, but I'm with Ronnie in the sense that you have to be able to attack well to truly win things. You got to be good to defensively to a certain point, but you have to be able to score goals that win games. And that's what he's trying to get to with this team. And they're not there yet. And I don't think it's on Dyla. I think it is on the relationships, the chemistry, and it's on individual performances. There's been too many goals that have not been scored because of mistakes. There's been too many goals that have been conceded due to mistakes. And you've got to see the thing that I think Bartosz Szlisz was hinting at and asking for in terms of being not just not nice, not just mean, not just aggressive. I think aggressive is the word that Bartosz specifically used. It's not just about that. I loved how Ronnie took it to a different place yesterday in the same realm of you've got to be more sharp, more together in those key moments. And you've got to back each other up. You've got to hold each other accountable. You've got to be intense, but then you've also got to support one another. Like that's all part of building a strong team. And that's all part of eliminating mistakes. And that's all part of going out on the road where you've got to be able to score goals to win games and doing it in a place like Philadelphia. I want to see what Bradley Carnell's 4-2-2-2 looks like in person. I want to see how it's different than Jim Curtin. I don't think we're going to get that sense until we're in the building and we get to watch it play out. But it will be different. It'll evoke similar things, but it's not exactly the same. You know what you're dealing with if you're Atlanta. You're going to be pressed. You're going to have to be brave on the ball. You're going to have to take those chances. And if you do, you're going to be rewarded with opportunities going the other way. And then it just comes down to holding your nerve and converting. Because if you start scoring first consistently, you start putting teams into bad spots. If you start scoring the second goal consistently, then you have teams start to really scramble. And if you start scoring a third goal consistently, it's game over. So you've got to get to that point where you're doing that consistently while eliminating mistakes the other way. It's about character. It's about this team fighting for one another and backing each other up. And more importantly, it's about putting the ball in the back of the net. You start doing that consistently, everything looks different.
Jarrett, what kind of a match are you anticipating?
Cagey, because at the end of the day, sorry, I'm just getting back from being on the West Coast and my brain is broken right now. I was on the West Coast for like one too many days, so my body got used to it, and now I'm suffering the consequences of that. At the end of the day, it is whatever people. I know people don't like the R word. It's a rivalry. It's fun. Mm-hmm. And look, you can have more than one rival, and Atlanta Philly has been a rivalry because everyone gets animosity about it. That's fine.
Yeah, it's a rivalry because of the styles of play.
Yeah, and like you've had confrontations, and you've had people who just didn't play like each other in the moment on the field, and it makes it fun. We enjoy these things. You don't have to be afraid of this. I'm excited to see what it looks like too, because I felt like Bradley Carnell got the short end of the stick in St. Louis. Yeah, he punched above his weight year one, and they got some very fortunate things for them. I didn't necessarily love firing him out the gate because I didn't feel like they gave him a ton to work with in St. Louis. Nope. And then they bring in a new manager, and they're spending a little bit more, but it still feels like for the history that St. Louis has, they deserve more of a splash.
They deserve more soccer. Yeah. Like, look, and I'm biased, and y'all know this by now. Like, I want teams that want to play. I want teams that want the ball. I want teams that show some personality with the ball. I don't want teams that sit back and defend. I don't want teams that just run and chase you and press. I mean, you can do that and get the ball and then do something with it. And I don't think St. Louis has progressed past that. I think Philly reverted away from that, because I think if you go back and you look at the earlier or middle portion of Jim Curtin's time in Philly, they did have the ball more. And there was a flip. And I remember mentioning it, and people were yelling at me like, oh, no, they have the ball more than 50%. And I'm like, not anymore, they don't. Like, they changed. And they went so far the other direction. It's not soccer I enjoy as just a personal taste. I want teams that are, like Ronnie said, I want teams that are, going to dare to play. I want teams that are brave with the ball. So St. Louis, to me, as a heritage soccer market in this country, they deserve better. They deserve soccer players. They've produced so many great soccer players in that market that are great with the ball. Give the fans that. I think if you do, it gets past the idea of they got to win or the fans aren't going to keep coming back. Well, if you're not playing good soccer, then yeah, that's going to happen. LAFC, look in the mirror. If you play good soccer, you're going to get a longer leash, and fans are going to say, you know what? They didn't win, but we were entertained. They fought till the end, and they scored some goals, and it was a lot of fun. They're going to get it next time. Now, that only goes so far, of course, but I'm much more down that road, and that's my issue with St. Louis. I'm with you, Jarrett, but I do disagree with one thing you said. I don't think it's going to be cagey. I think it's actually going to be maybe as wide open as we've seen a game this season, because of Atlanta being much less of a keep the ball, attract the pressure, and then try to play through it, where sometimes it's a stalemate. I think this Atlanta team with Dyla is more direct, more vertical, and you could get into a lot of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, do goals result from it? I don't know. But I think there's going to be a lot of transition moments both ways for this team, for both of these teams.
So one of the things I'm going to be looking forward to with all of it is how Atlanta deals with it. Because we've talked all week, and we've talked for multiple weeks. I'm glad everyone else caught up. Congratulations. You can get your prize in the lobby, to talking about this team having some bite to it. I feel like we've been talking about this since Nashville came in and clacked their head last year.
I've been talking about that since Franco Ibarra left.
I know.
And,
but I'm happy that everyone else has caught up to the conversation. Good work, everybody. We'll give you a treat. However, if you want a situation where, hey, you might have to be cynical at times. Welcome to the game for it, because you're going to go vertical. You might lose that first header or that second loose ball, and you might need Bartosz Slisz to pull someone down and stand over them to keep a transition moment from happening. You're going to probably have to eat a couple of yellow cards. Do it. I'm not saying you play. I'm not saying you go spikes in. Don't pop up on Morris Patatas. Please don't do that. But
look, if you got it, you got it.
But this
honestly,
is
I don't even care. If you have to, you have to.
But this is a game where, yeah, if you feel like if it comes down to it, and you need that cynical foul, do it. Because if this is the kind of game that can't drag it out of you, I don't know what can.
Yeah, we need to see it. And I want to see a player like a Tristan, like Bartosz Slisz. I want to see those guys really take that, because we've seen the bite from them. We've seen it. Slisz talked about it in media this week. I want to see that on the field on Saturday. I want to see him be the one to step up and do that. I want to see him be the one who's like, you know what? You get a moment, boom, I'm going to pull you down and we're going to keep it going. I want to see that, because I think that bite and that grit and that fighting spirit is what's going to help them going forward. And something that Ronnie said, you want to stick together. You want to have that fighting spirit going into this game and throughout the entire season. And it's weird. We've seen glimpses, but it hasn't been there a lot. I didn't see it really in New England. Towards the very end, you were trying to find something, keep things going, but I don't think that translates to the same thing as fighting spirit. I want to see that grit. I want to see those moments. I want to see that in the midfield. I want to see that all over the place. I want to see those moments where sometimes you got to do the dirty work. You got to do the dirty work to keep things going. Sometimes it ain't pretty, but sometimes you got to do it. You got to do it to get the job done.
All right, I'm going to get real specific to blow up some narratives, because this is what happens when we have this conversation. I'm going to get real specific about two things. One, we'll come back to Bartosz and Tristan from training on Tuesday, because I've already seen people who were not there, who didn't see it. There hasn't been video of it, who have tried to twist it into something else. They didn't see it, and they're still trying to make a story out of it, and it's really, really stupid to do that. We saw it. We talked about it. That's already out there in multiple places, 92.9 and SDH. You should know what happened from people who actually saw it, not people on Reddit, not people on social media who are trying to make more of it. Okay, we'll come back to that one. But I want to be real specific on grit and fight and these things that we're talking about. This is a hardworking team.
Yes.
The amount of miles that they run shows that. So do not try to make a narrative about they don't want it or they're not running enough or they're not hustling. That's not the issue. So drop that. Don't twist, well, they need to be gritty to they're not running enough. They're running plenty. The numbers show it, the sprints show it, the intensive runs show it. All those metrics, they're in the top 10 in the league. They are running plenty. They work hard. I'm talking about very specific moments. There was one when Peyton Miller went through the back of Brooks Lennon on a header in the match on Saturday, and there was no response. That ticks me off. When somebody goes at your player who is in the air and defenseless and hits him in the back, that player needs to be dropped with a receipt later. Sorry, that's the game. If the referee's not going to show a yellow to it, then you got to take matters into your own hands. Go back and watch Miami and Houston from earlier this season, where Joe Dickerson took a nap as Kowalczyk stomped on Jordi Alba. It was a horrendous challenge. It probably should have been a red, and it was nothing. Go back and watch. Minute or two later, Jordi Alba cleans somebody out with a really bad tackle, and Joe Dickerson comes running over and makes a big show of giving him a yellow, and Jordi Alba's like, yeah, I know that's a yellow. Thank you. Can I have another one? Because you're not doing your job. You have to handle those moments. And if a referee's not, that's what I'm talking about with grit. That's what I'm talking about with being too nice. That's what I'm talking about. It's not about working hard. It's about breaking up momentum when the other team is starting to boss the game a little bit. They're starting to string some passes together. Go in for a hard foul. Take a yellow if you have to. If you're at home and the crowd is starting to murmur and they're not cheering and they're quiet, okay, go in for a hard challenge. Do something to turn the energy. Those are the important things. That's the specific element of what you want to see from this team going forward. Philadelphia, they've made a living on it. They've carried their game and their results from those sorts of moments. Those moments can decide games. I'd rather decide the game with quality and scoring goals and being a good soccer team. Sometimes it's not going to go your way. So you're going to have to find another way to do it. Now, the Bartosz and Tristan incident from Tuesday, which is not even really an incident, but I've seen people trying to twist this into something, and I don't think his spread super far and wide, but I'm going to nip it in the bud because nobody saw it except for the media that was there, and I don't even know if all the media noticed it. A question was asked to Bartosz Slisz about it. He answered it. I played that on Atlanta Soccer Tonight on Tuesday night. Maddie and I talked about it in Training Ground Dispatch. There was a moment in the scrimmage where Bartosz and Tristan go down. I think Bartosz had went in for a challenge. They both go to the ground. Tristan didn't like the challenge. They get up and they're in each other's face and they're pushing and shoving, and everybody comes in and breaks it up. Then they come back and they're still doing it again. They're still pushing and shoving and yelling. Assistant coaches are like, drop it. We're going to finish. We'll talk about it after. Let's go. Well, Tristan didn't drop it, and he came back to Bartosz again, and they pushed and shoved a little bit more, and then they got separated. That was about, a 90-second sequence. And then not even 10 minutes later, when that activity ended, Bartosz and Tristan are bro hugging and high-fiving and still talking about the incident, but in a very teammate sort of way. It was nothing. It was good. It was good to see Tristan do that. It was good to see Bartosz hold his ground. It was good to see them then work it out. It was a great thing. I was sitting there the whole time, and Maddie can absolutely vouch for this. I was sitting there the whole time, especially when Tristan came back for more. I was like pumping my fist saying, yes, this is what you want to see in those moments. Because this team's, they're professionals. They're friends. They can get through that and then say, you know what, cool, let's go fight for each other in the game. If we're going to fight here because we want to win a scrimmage, let's go fight for each other in the game. It was so nothing. So do not believe anybody who was not there. And there were 5 media members there, I think. I
Yeah.
don't think there were more than 5,
No,
maybe a
I
6th.
think, yeah, there
And
there
two,
were
two
a
of
lot.
them are you and Maddie.
Yeah, 2
Yes. Yeah,
times.
we're part of that. So don't believe anybody who tells you something that happened, because we talked about it not even an hour after it happened on Training Ground Dispatch, and that's on Tuesday on the SDH Network. You can go back and look at that. I played the clip Tuesday night on Atlanta Soccer Tonight from Bartosz, who spoke about 30, 40 minutes after it happened to the media. So it was nothing. It was a good thing. It was nothing negative. So don't let narratives get started and start twisting you. Listen to people who are there and talking about it and being very clear in what happened. Sorry, soapbox destroyed.
No, it's all good. No, it's stuff like that we got to talk about.
No, it's important because it's too easy to just say stuff and not be held accountable for it. And there were a lot of things said about that, and nobody else saw it. So we talked about it immediately after it happened, and that was out there. And if you choose not to listen or read to it, that's cool. But if you see somebody saying things that are incorrect, point them into the right direction, please, and make sure that people who are actually reporting on things that are happening are being seen and heard, because we did, and somehow it still got twisted.
Yeah.
It made no sense.
And when 40% of the people who were there are right here, right now.
Yeah.
It's like,
if you have if we saw that in training on Tuesday, in that passion, it's like what Jason said, you have that grit and you're wanting to win a scrimmage that badly, and you're getting in each other's faces. You're being aggressive. You're being competitive. You're doing that. Then it's going to translate into the game on Saturday. Because what if another challenge like that happens against Philly? Someone goes in on Tristan again. That memory is going to come back into their minds. They're going to be like, oh, no, I got this. You're kidding? You're not doing that to my guy.
It needs to. If somebody goes into Tristan that way, Tristan will get up and fight for himself, and Bartosz will be right there next to him. So, it needs to carry over to this weekend, and that's what you want to see, and that's exactly what Bartosz talked about, and it's exactly what we talked about after the last game. So you want to see more of that. Hopefully you see it, because we did see it in training on Tuesday in a good way, in a positive way.
Absolutely.
Broadcast plans for the matchup in Chester.
6:30 for the Five Stripes Countdown. Garrett Chapman, Madison Cruz, they are getting you ready for everything. Then myself and Mike Conti will take over. I think we have Chris Henderson in the booth with us just before 7 o'clock. Game will kick off at 7:40, and you can listen on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts around the week? I'm going to start with Jarrett. Around the week in general, get it off your chest, and it can still include the soapbox. Jarrett, last thoughts for the week.
Okay. I yelled about this last night to you, John. I'm going to yell about it now.
Sure.
I desperately need former players to stop gatekeeping like their life depends on it and trying to diminish stuff. And I need them to understand what a straw man argument is. I keep seeing the damn clip pop into my feed to the point where I'm about to start throwing things of Landon Donovan talking about the Declan Rice free kicks and trying to downplay them and blame them on the goalkeeper, and then does the straw man argument of, I've seen talk of, is he the best free kick taker? No one has said that. Declan Rice hadn't made a free kick goal in his career, but he scored 2 free kick goals in one of the biggest stages you could have possibly asked for him to do it, in a Champions League quarterfinal against Real Madrid, and started the process of cutting the Hydra's heads off. And it was beautiful. And if you want to blame the referee, if you want to blame the goalkeeper on the bad walls, that's fine. If you want to blame it and then diminish the second one, that's the goalkeeper's side. You shouldn't get that up. He puts it in a soccer ball sized hole in the upper 90. It's the same philosophy that I have in baseball of course he hit a home run. It was a center cut fastball. You still have to put round bat on round ball. Oh, the wall wasn't good. He still has to curl it around the wall correctly, which plenty of professionals are not capable of doing. No one has said he's the best. But quit trying to diminish what was a really awesome moment just because you want to take the piss out of something. And he's not the only former player that does this. We have people on the desk at MLS who do post game as well, who do the same crap, who've decided that negativity is the way to go. And they just want to be pissy about everything and shoot everything down and do actually about anything that might have pulled any sort of positivity. For God's sakes, just enjoy the fun things that happen without having to try and craft your own stupid-ass narrative. Because, I don't know, is somebody not looking at you enough? Do you feel like the world's passing you by? Take the damn hoodie off and go out and do something that build something instead of sitting there and trying to diminish what was a really cool thing just because you want to be a cool kid sitting at the damn table.
Being negative doesn't make you smarter.
No.
I think that's a trend that is probably everywhere, but not just in soccer, but it's very prevalent. Just being negative to be negative doesn't make you come off as smarter. And I had this conversation kind of in the same way, Jarrett, about where MLS is, where soccer in the US is on AST. And like, I see people literally tweeting, and it's getting traction because I saw it pop up multiple times. Like, MLS is disappearing. No, it's not. Like, do I wish that they were in the greatest TV deal of all time? Yeah, sure. I wish they were in a situation like the NFL where they're everywhere. Sure, I wish that. They're not. But they're setting records for attendance. They're setting records for sponsorship dollars coming in. They're setting records for so many different things. San Diego has come in and been a great launch. You've got all these positive things going on in soccer in this country. USL is launching new leagues. It's exciting. You've got WPSL Pro launching with a second division team just up the road, by the way, with the Georgia Impact. You've got all these different things happening that are positive. And you don't have to wave a flag for one and crap on every other one. And you don't have to do the well, actually thing and find something negative to complain about. I'm old enough to remember times when pro soccer in the city was played at a high school stadium with one set of stands, with a crown on the field that you couldn't even see the people's feet on the far side. That was pro soccer. It's not like that anymore. And that's progress, and that's great. Can it be better? Absolutely. And there's things you need to work on. I said a lot of it on AST. You need to spend more money. You need to do it the right way. I do think the calendar needs to change, which is something that I never would have said 5 years ago, let alone further back than that. I think it's time. I think these are things that'll help it grow. But one thing that'll also help it grow is if you love it and you're in the game, and whether you're getting a paycheck to talk on TV or the radio, you are making content, celebrate the game, enjoy the game, bring new people to the game, make it fun, cover all aspects of it, and stop trading on negativity, and stop trading on fear mongering, and stop trading on fake conflict, and actually help grow the game. You know, I go back to something that Michael Parker said at the CSE event that we were part of last month. And he said that in his generation, players felt a responsibility to go grow the game because they had to. You had to know that you're going to sign a professional contract and you're not going to get paid a whole lot of money, not as much as they make now. And you're going to have to go out and do every media appearance. You're going to have to go out and do every community appearance. And you're going to have to do those things if you hope to continue to get future contracts. That was what players felt in the 90s and the early 2000s. That time's gone. I said it to him. I truly believe it. It's not on the players anymore, truly, to just grow the game. It's on everybody in the game. And there's too often people with voices and people with clout and people with followings that focus on the negative. And that doesn't grow the game. That doesn't keep you employed, let alone grow the game for the next generation. It's got to change. And we've got to stop. I'm with you, Jarrett. Like, Declan Rice has a moment of his life, and it's brilliant, and it's wonderful, and he hits 2 free kicks that he might not ever hit again. Yay. Not boo. Yay.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't hard. It just ain't hard to do that. So celebrate it. There's going to be something this weekend in MLS that will be great. It could be in Cleveland. It could have a huge crowd. It could be really cool. I can guarantee you there will be negative posts about it. It's not in Columbus. They priced out people. Well, if 60,000 people buy a ticket, and I don't know how many are going to end up being in the building, somebody bought tickets.
Mm-hmm.
They're not fake. They're real people. They're there. And there's going to be some people in Cleveland who might not have had the chance to go see pro soccer before because they haven't had pro soccer. And you might change a kid's life. And that kid might go on to be the next Landon Donovan or the next Tim Howard or the next Clint Dempsey. That's what we want, right? So let's stop. Let's stop. You're in a moment right now where You've got a 30-team league. You've got a second division that's thriving. You've got third divisions that are thriving. You've got women's 2 first divisions that are thriving. You've got a women's second division that's launching. You've got a World Cup coming in 26. You got a Club World Cup coming this summer. You got FIFA making $1 million donation to youth projects in the Atlanta area and every other city that the Club World Cup is going to have. You've got so many positive things. We all want it to be better, and we should fight for it to be better. But you don't do that by crapping on what's good. You do that by celebrating what's good and finding ways to make it even better. That's how you actually grow the game. And that's what American soccer should be doing. And with that, I'm out.
All right, he's got to go catch a plane. So, Maddie, what else is on your mind before we get out of here for a week? So what's on the table for you that's still out there?
Well, Georgia Impact is going to be the WPSL Pro. That's really exciting. I love that. That's so cool. I'm excited to be doing a lot of stuff with them over the summer. And that's so exciting. I love it. I just love that we're getting to a point, especially in the women's game, where you're getting these tier levels. You're going to be getting another avenue for players to continue to grow and to continue to be professionals. And you're getting the opportunity to see in the women's game. And I'm so excited. So this is the public service announcement this summer. Georgia Impact, come on out. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Home games are at Cherokee High School. This is the promo.
Yeah.
You should come.
Yes. Well, as a part of it, and once again, our friends over at Decatur FC are a part of it too.
Decatur FC as well. Do it. Come on out. Wherever you want to go. If you want to go to both, go to both.
Go to both.
Go to both. Because I'll tell you right now, though, the place to be will be the Georgia Impact versus Decatur FC matches. Because those will be incredible. Decatur FC broke the attendance record for WPSL last season because of that match. Those are going to be some of the funnest games, I think, of the summer. I mean, obviously, we'll talk about Club World Cup later. But, I mean, listen, in the local grassroots, just it's going to be so beautiful. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited. But anyway, that's me. So I'm also going to do a Jason. And that's my final stamp.
There you go. All right.
Enjoy the game. Let's go.
Enjoy the game. Let's go. All right. So, Jarrett, it's just you and me to wrap. So that's going to be it for yet another week. And, so I think Fridays traditionally in this final hour, it's just like, all right, what else is on the table? What else is get it all off your chest so you're going into the weekend with the best frame of mind possible.
Don't give me the bullshit of how can you not be romantic about the game and then shit on things. Don't do that. Don't tell me that don't play the how can you not be romantic about the game and then you just take a dump on something.
Yes.
For whatever reason you have chose to do things, WNBA has this problem as well of kind of just dumping on new things that come in, almost like history is afraid of being history. And yeah, man, I'm exhausted by it, and the final thing, and then I'll shut up about this. If your reaction to all of that, all of this, is that there was an issue of context and not getting the full clip, well, the podcast, Tim Howard's podcast, posted that clip specifically.
Okay,
they clipped it in a way that they wanted that information to be absorbed in that specific way.
Yeah.
So don't tell me there's other context, because that's the way they clipped it. And if there's other context to it, then someone either doesn't know how to edit or they're intentionally trying to rile people up. And hey, man, mission accomplished.
Yep, you did that. And that's why I can't. Maddie did the Landon Donovan impression since I can't fit my headset over. I can't fit my hood over my headset. But anyway, that was the Landon Donovan impression for that. So enjoy the game. Enjoy the games this weekend, no matter where you want to enjoy them. And once again, 6:30, 7:40, full-time report after. Maddie, Garrett, Mike, Jason, Maddie, Garrett. That's how it's going to be on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. I think the boss and I might actually be partaking out at the #1 soccer bar in the country. So if you see us, then wander over and say hi. So we'll be doing all that. Thanks to Dave Leno. Thanks to Kevin Egan. Thanks to Jason, Maddie, and Jarrett, as always, on the crew. That is another go-round of the stuff for the week. Once again, tonight, it is 6 and 8:15. 6 and 8:15, Stars Mill and McIntosh down in Peachtree City. Maddie and I are going to have the call for that one. And it'll be a fun way to wrap up our regular season. When we know more about our playoff run, we'll let you know. brackets this weekend. Soccer's in session is going to be consistent throughout the playoff run going forward. Going to be on as many days as possible at noon, but we won't go the full hour because then I won't have a voice by next Thursday. So for everybody here, Jarrett, I'm going to let you go ahead and send us home, and so that way we can have the proper send-off for yet another week.
Mucha plata, y'all.
What he said, or listen to it this way. We'll see you later.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours. Be gone.